Good afternoon, everybody. It is Monday, March 10th, 2025. This is a special budget workshop meeting, budget meeting number 4 of the Commissioners of City of Rehoboth Beach. We're live at City Hall Commissioners Room, second floor. Thank you for being here. I'd like to call this meeting to order at exactly 2 o'clock p.m. Instead of roll call, we'll let the minutes show that all commissioners are here, but for Commissioner Suzanne Good, who could not be here today. And so that allows us to have a quorum and formally conduct business today. Roll call for staff. We have Henry Matlos in the back, Public Works Director, City Secretary Ann Womack, City Manager Taylor Tedder, Assistant City Manager Evan Miller, and Keith Chief Banks. Thank you for being here today. With that, there is no correspondence, I don't believe, Ann, that we got, although I guess you could well, we got one letter from the fire department. If you, we'll introduce that in a little bit. And today's meeting is, of course, to conduct a budget meeting number 4. I think we're all optimistic and that we can finalize things today, and yet we do have the opportunity for another session if we need it. But again, we're hopeful not. With that, I want to turn over the podium to Taylor. We are going to do old business, discuss draft budget for fiscal year 2026 as presented by the city manager, to include but not limited to presentations by our community partners seeking grants, including discussion of amounts of awards, if any, during today's meeting. You notice I did put them, the grant, possible grant recipients in the reverse chronological order. That's just so we can get rid of the fire department and let them go do their work. So, with that, Taylor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. Good afternoon, everyone. So today is our 4th budget meeting, and the purpose of today's meeting is to go over the community partner contributions and then continue to discuss grant requests, final questions and comments. We'll also touch on the employee health insurance and raises. And then we have scheduled on March 21st, 2 p.m., the final piece of the budget, voting to approve the FY26 annual budget. And of course, if there are any last-minute changes, those can be made at that meeting. So that's what we have planned for right now. First, I wanted to go over a few changes from our last budget meeting. We've updated all of the actuals and all of your budget worksheets that were available in the agenda packet. And I wanted to talk a little bit about our projections for the current fiscal year 25. The overall surplus for fiscal year 25 did increase by about $814,000 between budget meeting 3 and 4, and revenue increased by about $1.6 million. And that's primarily because of some large increases in a few areas, one of which is rental tax, because the rental tax changed from 6 to 7%. We've received most of that money so far for this upcoming year, and it came in much higher than we anticipated. So that's reflected in the FY25 projections in your worksheets. In-town water revenue came in higher, about $170,000 higher. Out-of-town water came in about $225,000 higher. And then there was a misclassification of the Dewey Beach sewer revenue, so that actually came in at $596,000 higher. In our expense projections for the current year, there's about $832,000 increase there, one of which was a capital outlay for a gearbox in the wastewater plant of about $325,000, and then just some other smaller changes in the departmental expenses. So some additional changes for the fiscal year 26 budget, which is what we're crafting right now, which is what we're discussing right now. The city auction, we increased the revenue from that by about $40,000. We have several vehicles like a trash truck, a parks department vehicle, a police vehicle, all that are not part of the enterprise fleet leasing program. So we'll get all of the money from selling those at the auction, and vehicles do quite well. We're also looking to offload a street sweeper, a road tractor, and two of the retiring electric little trash trucks that go on the boardwalk. So that is the increase to the city auction. We increased the Alderman Court Security Fund revenue by about $10,000 based on the actuals. Increased the rental tax by another $100,000 based on the actuals that we've had come in today for the FY26 budget. And then we also reduced our grant revenue, just trying to be more realistic on possible matching planning grants that we'll apply for. And then, of course, I don't want to read the things on the screen, but that's basically the changes that have been made from the last meeting to this meeting. And I'll pause here for any questions.
Nope, continue.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll go ahead and, at this portion of the meeting, turn it over to the different community partners to go over the contributions. The first up is the Rehoboth Beach Volunteer Fire Company, and I have your letter. We can put that up.
Well, while you're doing that, let me do a little reminder. 2 years ago, we instituted a new application program. It's rather lengthy and thorough, and the 4 agencies filled those out to the best of my knowledge last year, correct? Recently, the fire department came in front of the Board of Commissioners seeking a waiver from having to do that application process, and the Board of Commissioners granted that. So for them, it's a little different situation. They are just submitting a letter, and maybe Warren, do you want to, or Mike, do you want to read the letter and go ahead?
And I will just give an overview. So in the current fiscal year 26 draft budget that's been presented to you, there is $200,000 already built into that budget.
Right.
So.
Okay. So Warren, if one of you would read introduce yourself, of course, and then read your letter.
Good morning, afternoon. My name is Warren Jones. I'm the Vice President of the Rehoboth Beach Volunteer Fire Company. The letter says, "Dear Mayor and Council, I hope this letter finds you well. On behalf of the Rehoboth Beach Volunteer Fire Company, we're requesting for 2025-2026 fiscal year of the city's budget amount of $200,000. In addition, we'll seek $50,000 to replace an aging command vehicle. The new vehicle will proudly display donated by the city of Rehoboth Beach on the side of it, if you agree. These funds are needed to support our vital services. In 2024, we responded to 854 fire calls, 4,709 EMS calls. We broke 5,000, this is not, but I'm going to add to this. We broke 5,000 calls for the first time ever in the city of Rehoboth. And you always, I'm going off the letter here, but in the city of Rehoboth, you've always asked me what our call volume is in here, in the city limits. So I included that in there. We responded to 142 fire calls and 568 ambulance calls within the city limits. That's 710 calls in here. That's 12.8% of our total call volume. We're busy. We're getting to the point where we need to put that third ambulance on. And when we put that third ambulance on, that's going to be an added expense that we need to think about and set aside about. We talked to you last year about Station 1 and the age of that building and all the things that need to be done with that. We applied for that $3 million grant from the federal government, and we're not successful with it. So we've set aside some money this year to start working on Station 1, to start bringing it up to more modern and more useful and more efficient parts of the building. I'm going to let Michael turn this over to him, and he can, by the way, one more thing. April 5th is our annual membership banquet. This is the time we honor our people. You're all invited to that. We'd love to have you come and see who we are and what we do. You know, we're an organization of people that provide emergency services. We're an organization of volunteers that provide emergency service, except for our EMS, which are career staff. You're next.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Mike Simpler, president of the Rehoboth Beach Fire Company. First of all, I want to thank the mayor, the commissioners, Chief Banks for reaching out to us during my sister's service. My sister tragically passed away. She was a member of the auxiliary. Chief, thank you for taking care of parking for our service at the firehouse and for the commissioners that have reached out to us. Thank you. All right, I guess I get to talk a little bit about the budget. This year, our budget is just under $7 million, which I know that might come as a big number right off, but we're getting ready to pay for the two new trucks and the ambulance that we'll be having coming in. Over the last 10 years, we have been putting money away through fundraisers and all that to be able to pay for these vehicles when they come in. When they come in, they will be owned by us, paid in full. So we will have no debt on that side. And that comes from years of working with the city, with using Convention Hall and other fundraisers that we've been doing over the years, plus through our fund drive. But included in that, that's 3.5 of our budget right there. So the other 4.2 million is basically operations. And hopefully at the end, we'll have a little left over to start for our next piece, which we're looking at to replace. And when we order that, that is anywhere from 48 to 54 months out. So that gives us almost 5 years to start saving for that piece of apparatus, which is aged out 21 years. So it's been in service for 21 years. With that also, a third of our budget goes towards EMS service. We have budgeted, as Warren has said, that we are going to be bringing on a third ambulance crew. Right now, we're looking at whether to start at May 15th and run it through September 15th, or even take it back to May 1st and running it all the way through Seawitch. I know it doesn't matter to you guys because it's not in the city, but because of our MOUs with the rest of the county and the way the fire service works, we are actually have one of our ambulances on the way to Long Neck for CPR in progress because the county is that overloaded right now. We're the closest ambulance to provide service to even the Long Neck area. So the third ambulance is going to be needed. I mean, we've already had 5 or 6 ambulance runs this morning up till this point. So, I mean, we are very busy. Some other things that happened over the winter, we found in our center, in between the 2 old stations, the roof has been leaking. It came when we had the snowstorm, everything got built up. We found that everything started leaking in there, which was not what we were looking for at this time, while we're trying to do some other things. So we're having to start budget to do some replacing in there. And we've also found that the floor in there is asbestos. So we are working to mitigate that issue and clean that out as well with fundings that we've had. We've put away $350,000 in our budget this year for Station 1 upgrades, which part of that is also converting the upstairs bathrooms into ADA compliant and working that way, because they haven't been, and we were grandfathered in because of our station, but we feel with the need of the people using the station for free that it's something we need to do. And part of that was going to be included in the grant that we did not receive of the $3.5 million. Other expenditures that we're looking at is moving the executive offices, which were in the area where the leak sprung, into another section of the firehouse that used to be our old meeting room, because we now hold our meetings out at Station 2 because of parking. During the summer months, there's nowhere to park for our members, so we've moved the meetings out there to the basement of the meeting room down there. So that area will become our executive offices, EMS storage, and our IT center, which that bid just came back in at $65,000 for that area. We do not have a price back yet on removal of the asbestos. We do have other budget figures that have come in. We've also, as in the request, we've asked for an additional $50,000 to help replace the aging command vehicle. The total price of that vehicle is coming in at $86,780 equipped, and we're only asking for the city to put up a partial part of that. to help us. And that is the command vehicle that responds to everything, the parades, you know, Sea Witch, everything in the city limits as well. At this time, is there any questions about our budget? The rest is fuel, ambulance runs, paying the staff.
Let me ask you a few things. First, I'd like you to identify, you've mentioned Station 1 many a times. A lot of folks don't know where
Station 1 is 219 Rehoboth Avenue. Station 2, for your information, is the one out by Shall We Golf and Airport Road, all out there. Station 3 is a shared joint station out on Route 24 in the Angola area with Lewis. And with that in mind, I was going to bring up Lewis. We were just notified of this the other day. Lewis, unfortunately, has the cost of living in their fire district has gone up tremendously, and over the last couple of years, members are living further and further away because they can't afford to live in the area. We kind of have that same problem here in Rehoboth, but luckily we have a good group coming out of Angola. Me, myself, I don't live in the city, but I live in the Forgotten Mile with my 5 kids, and they're members in the company as well. Lewis, approximately right now, is going to lose $500,000 in ambulance service for their area because it's so grown. They have sent a letter to the county telling them that the beginning of January 1st, 2026, if they do not get help from the county to help subsidize their ambulance service, that they will be going out of the ambulance business and turning it over to the county. We luckily, we manage our money. You guys have seen us out there. We do stuff. It all depends on how you show your numbers. I can show that we lost $450,000 because we're buying a new ambulance. But we spread that over 5 years because that's the life of the ambulance. So for us, having the money to pay for things up front is very important to us because we don't want to be in debt. We have, I'll be honest, because you look at it 1099, we have 1.2 sitting in the bank after this is done. The new engine or the new ladder that we're looking at is going to be $2.3 million. That's if we sign it today. If we don't sign it until after June, it will be $2.6 million, and you're not getting it for 5 years. So we're very diligent about our money, how we spend it. That started back when Mayor Cooper was the treasurer, when he was a commissioner. He made us start a savings plan, and we've lived up to that. We've kept our financial ideas going the same way. So the money we ask from you helps us. Would we like more? Heck yeah. You know, it'd make it a lot easier on us coming up with the new 3-man ambulance crew. So.
Thank you, Mike. I've got 3 or 4 more questions. One is the Sussex County's working a deal with Dewey Beach on adding EMS vehicles in the town. Can you explain that a little bit?
That's
Does
a
that
one-man,
impact
that's a
you all?
one-man paramedic program that'll only be used during the summer months, the crunch season, like I just said, from May till October. And the county has agreed to give them money to do that. Now, they will be assigned to the Rehoboth area, Dewey area, as a backup to 104, which is out on Plantations Road, the county office there. They go all over as well. They also be covering Bethany if 106 is busy and can't get out of their station down there. They'll be headed south as well. So it puts them in an area to go either way. So, but it is only a one-man, as you guys see it going down the road, it looks like a Suburban. They're basically running that, a one-man.
All right. I always like to go over the past history, my past history with donations to the fire department. If I could, I'd give you all kinds of money, but I think we have to be conscious that it's coming from our constituents and taxpayers. I think, Warren, are you hiding back there?
I'm not hiding, sir.
He's just shorter than me. That's what it is.
I could see you now. I know, for many years, even before I was a commissioner, the commissioners were very generous, and I thought generous, giving a donation to the fire department. And I can remember when I came on board, I think it was about $60,000 cash, and then maybe another 10 or 15 for specific apparatus. They would always ask for a cash donation and then say, this year, we'd also like to buy 6 oxygen tanks for X dollars and everything. And I can remember getting together with Warren and Evan Miller and Sharon Lynn when she was manager and said, how can we bump this? Instead of asking for money each year, how can we bump it up? And so I think I was bold enough to say, let's bump it up to 100,000 a year. And the thinking was that let's do that. That's such a fantastic jump. They're not going to ask for any more money or any increases in that in future years to come. Well, that wasn't to be much, was it? So we went up from there to 125, 150, to 200,000. And so I guess it's anticipated that the money keeps going up, but it's still a shock that the extra 50,000. Two more things, and I'll shut up. One is I always like us to point out that our abutting municipalities, how much do they donate? Because we're donating again 200,000 last year. How much did Henlope and Acres and Dewey give last year? And again, they're different entities than us, obviously.
You got that, or you want me to do it?
Go ahead.
Henlope and Acres gave us 15,000. I got it right here. Henlope, Dewey Beach gave us, well, I can tell you, North Shores gave us $1,000. Dewey Beach gave us $22,000, and then Henlope and Acres gave us $5,000 on top of the $50 per house. Henlope and Acres, we only run there about less than 1% of the time. So
Okay. I just want everybody to have context.
Dewey
and
Beach,
everything.
our biggest part of Dewey Beach isn't so much fire as it is ambulance runs. Same with Rehoboth.
Right.
You know, if you took the numbers, it's pretty much divided the same. Number of fires versus ambulance, same thing there. Henlope and Acres, it's 90% all ambulance runs.
Sure,
And that's
sure.
very low.
Well, there's a recent article in the newspaper about Lewis Fire Department seeking money from the Lewis Council. And my recollection is that they are getting $75,000 on an annual basis. But in addition, like I said before, they about you all, they are asking for an extra 21,200 this year, and then 22,000 for the next 2 years after that. So essentially 22,000 a year for 3 years, specifically for some pieces of equipment. I don't remember what they are.
They also get funding from the Board of Directors, and 2 years ago, they gave Lewis $600,000 to do.
They who?
Lewis, City of Lewis, gave Lewis Fire Department $600,000 to do a remodel of their Station 1, which exceeded, I believe, just over $870,000, and the city did bump more money to them, or the Board of Public Works bumped more money to them to help pay that off.
So the Lewis Council, you're saying?
Yes.
Gave them more money? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Just
Warren?
want to get it out there that
The biggest, Lewis again, they made a presentation to their city council or commissioners, whatever their title over there. 16.2% of their runs is in the city of Lewis. They asked them for 16.2% of their budget. They didn't get it, but that's what they asked for. We're not asking for 12.8% of our budget. It's considerably less than that. And the other thing I wanted to bring up, we talk about fire trucks and the cost. We bought an engine in 2021. It's a fire truck, everybody. In 2021 for $600,000. The new one we're buying that we're going to put in Station 1 next door here is $1 million. So from 2021 till now, that's how much the cost of fire apparatus are concerned. And with this crazy thing going on in the federal government, who knows what it's going to cost?
To buy a set of fire gear for an individual, it's about $26,000 for a complete set of fire gear. And you got to figure we have to do that for 2 times for the guys because you don't know which station they're going to be at. So we know I have a set of gear here. I also have a set of gear at Station 2. And I also have a set of gear at Station 3 because I'm on the road all the time, all over. So, and you know, when you have 60-some members, that adds up too. And you got to replace that every 7 years. So we have that built into our budget too.
And last question I have is relative to Station 1 and 2. You've got two of them. Does the funding that we give you stay in town? Does it go to fund both groups?
I can honestly say yes and no both. If you tell us I have to tell you $200,000 stays in town, it does, because we have an ambulance crew sitting in town. We got a fire truck that costs 1.2 million. The one where he's talking about was 1.25 that just came in. That stays in town. We have a brush truck that stays in town. We have the jet skis that were bought for in town to get out in the ocean, which now the lifeguards have purchased one as well. But who has to train the lifeguards? Who has to go out with them? Because you don't go out with just one on a jet ski, you have to go with two. So we're right out there with them. And a lot of people don't realize we've only got maybe 2 or 3 members that are older members that live in the city limits. Everybody that comes in to protect this city that we all love, even the ones that live in Angola that are members, love the city of Rehoboth because they always want to come in. We protect your city. We do. I do. I've never lived in the city. Well, I did for a little bit on Stokely Street. But the rest of the time, I've been from out of town. And we come in because we care about not only the fire service, but the public we serve. And that's the most important thing. And by asking for $200,000 and $50 extra for a command vehicle to help get around, to protect what you guys have in the city, it's not much to ask for, in my opinion. And I've been doing it 42 years now. I've done it since I was old enough to get in. 4 out of my 5 kids have done it since they were 15. The youngest one's 22, including my daughter. And she's better than the other 2, but that's just me personally. But
All right, let me open it up to the commissioners. We will go to the public at the appropriate time, but Commissioner Saunders?
I can start. Warren, I believe that when you were here last time, you told us that I believe the number was 17% was the response rate from the residents of the city of Rehoboth on your annual campaign. Is that number correct?
right now we're at 15 to 16 from what has gone out after the fall. The ambulance billing has just gone, or ambulance subscription has just gone out, so we won't have those accurate numbers until probably the end of March, because that went out.
16 to 17% is in the ballpark.
That's in the ballpark, yes, sir. Because
Thank
the
you.
overall average is about 18, 19% overall.
It's not very much and a little embarrassing.
And the average cost, I'll say Love Creek Bridge west of our district, it's about $58 to $59 a donation. They are the ones that give us the most. We have a higher return coming from the south side of Route 24, Love Creek area, than we do in the Henlopen Acres, Rehoboth, Dewey. Now, their average is about $80, $85 on average from those areas. But like I say, the Angola area, they are also the ones that that get the most ambulance subscription returns that send back. And they are $100 for that. And they're the ones that give the most on that also.
Good, thank you. Anybody else? If not, we'll go to the members of the public. Anybody like to comment? You can also open your pocket. You have a donation bucket.
Yeah, I got it right here.
You know the routine. Carolyn, if you state
Carolyn
your name.
Diefendorfer, city resident. I said this last year, I'm going to say it again. I fully support the city and the contribution to the fire department. I think the big issue with the city, I'll bet if you could narrow it down to city residents, people who actually live here, you're probably doing okay. I think the bigger issue is the property owners where the houses are rentals. And I think so many of our people come from places where the fire department is funded through property taxes. I mean, I grew up in an area where they were paid fire departments. It was part of our taxes. I think a lot of people that come here, you know, are coming from places like that. And I don't think they understand that fire departments in Delaware are essentially all volunteer. I think, what do you have, one in the state that's paid? In Wilmington. So anything we can do to continue the funding that goes to the city, and maybe even trying to facilitate adding a fee onto our quarterly water bills that is directed to the fire department through us, I think it would be a big help to them. Because again, I think people just don't understand that it's 100% volunteer here. So, thank you.
Thank you. A fire fee has been on the table, right? We don't want to use that T word.
Yeah, because nobody wants to hear the T word.
The tax. And that's still on the table. It's just that we've deferred to the county and the state and to see what's going on with them. When I saw the extra 50,000, I recognized that we only had 200,000 in the present budget. I was thinking, I haven't settled my mind on it, but I was thinking we have 400,000 put away for repairs to the canal side dock. That could be more, could be less or something. And one option would be to wait to see what that comes in, and then any leftoverage to sit down and see if the commissioners would like to give that to you all.
That would be great. And also, if they would like to help with the ADA upstairs, that would be great with that side of the budget, because the Rehoboth Homeowner Association uses it. We don't charge them to use it. There's people we know that come up with walkers, wheelchairs, the whole 9 yards. So that's why we're trying to start to accommodate them. So
Sure.
any extra we could get, we can provide you budget numbers for that as well. So any extra would be greatly appreciated to help us.
Okay. I know we've got 3 other agencies in front of us looking for money. I'm hoping that we can make decisions on all 4. And I know at least one of them is asking for more money than before. So I don't know if we're comfortable giving you the full amount right now versus committing to the 200,000, which I would be willing to do, and then figuring out what to do about that extra 50. Now, if that sign on there donated by City of Rehoboth is adding 10,000 to it, then I'm willing to take that off. But is there any other commissioners that would like to offer?
Yeah, Mayor, if I could, please.
Commissioner Thayer, please.
Yeah, the one thing I'd ask for next year is, I appreciate that you're busy, but try and hit the deadline if you could. I think I got this over the weekend. So, and I think to the mayor's point, we're literally at the very end of the budget process. So whenever there's, an additional ask, the earlier we know that, the better. So again, I'd appreciate it if you kind of just get us the information timely. You can always work with the city manager. He puts out deadlines. If you're going to miss a deadline, that's fine, but try and get it in as close to that deadline as possible. I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
We apologize for our tardiness. We've had a really bad month. Lost three people.
3 people we've lost. So
County,
it's been.
County Mike's sister who was killed. So we've been dealing with that, and it just slipped, and we apologize.
Yeah, and I appreciate that and understand that. So, but thank you.
Would the commissioners, to move this forward, would the commissioners be willing to commit to 200,000 right now? And then review either before the end of the meeting, the finances, or take a look at what I said later in the year with the utilization of that $400,000 put away for the canal dock improvement. Somebody had a question over here?
I was just going to say that I'm amenable to committing to the 200,000 and then sort of looking at the additional 50 as we end the meeting and look at the budget overall.
Anybody else? Commissioner Gossett?
I would also agree with that. Thank you all for the service you provide. Just curious, could you give us any update of if there is any progress or the status of the fee with the county? I know that we were waiting for a report to be completed and those issues. I don't know if it's moved forward anymore. I know with the change in the county council membership, there is some receptivity to this. So I'm just curious if you have any other insight or anything you can share with us.
The reports or the gathering of the information for reports. Sorry. Here I am again. Anyway, the The report was done by Facets Incorporated. They're going throughout the state of Delaware, examining all the volunteer fire companies and their operational costs and their operational income. They've completed Newcastle County and have reported what to the county council and the fire departments in Newcastle County, what their findings were. They have finished visiting all the fire companies in Sussex County. There was one holdout that was holding the whole thing up, which was an ambulance company, not a fire company. I've been after them to get this report released so you could see it, so the county could see it, so we could get on a county budget agenda before their budget is finished. But so far, I've had no luck in getting them to release the report at all. As soon as it comes out, I'll be happy to share it with you. But unfortunately, our hands are tied.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Warren. Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
All right, our next presentation is from the Rehoboth Beach Public Library, and their contribution request is $75,000, which has been included in the fiscal year 26 budget.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mayor Mills, commissioners. My name is Lauren McCauley. I am the director of the Rehoboth Beach Public Library. It's not moving. This isn't moving.
You can just use the wheel on the mouse.
Oh, okay. As Mr. Cheddar said, we are requesting $75,000 as part of our operations. The money goes towards our staff salary. So we have 5 full-time staff and 5 part-time staff that currently work at the library. And we have a board of trustees who are volunteers in the community. Currently 5 members and 3 at-large members. So we are dedicated to providing education and entertainment to the community. This year we've had over 35,000 visitors. Our fiscal year runs from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. This grant is obviously for fiscal year 26, so that would start July 1st, 2026. Out of the services that we offer, we have free books, magazines, newspapers, DVDs, books on CD. We have ebooks and e-audiobooks. People can use our services, our computer services like printing, scanning, and faxing. And actually, a lot of we do get a lot of people, we use library cards, but there's a lot of services that we offer that don't require library cards. So you can attend our events for free. If you don't have a card, you can use a guest pass at the computers. We try to be as accessible to the community as possible, especially because Rehoboth Beach is obviously a tourist destination. So we serve people who live here year-round, but in the summer we're also serving people who come in out of town. And a lot of people who come out of town like to use our services if they're on vacation, they need to check their work email, or they want to bring home, it's a rainy day and they want something fun to do with their kids, they come to us. And all of our books and our funding for our books and our programs comes largely through our Friends of the Library. So like last year, they had a really successful Stuff the Shelves fundraiser at their cocktail party, purchasing books for children. So thank you so much to the Friends for that. And we do a lot of programs for children and adults. And a lot of our programs, especially the most popular ones, are done by our staff. So like our Hogwarts camp, that's all done by staff and volunteers. Our Oscar previews party that we just had last weekend, that was the staff and volunteers from the Village Improvement Association. Cookies and Cocoa with Santa, Among Us IRL. We do also reach out, like we have guest speakers that come in from organizations like Delaware Humanities, but a lot of it is the staff. And our sources of income, our largest contribution comes from Sussex County and the state of Delaware, City of Rehoboth Beach, the Friends of the Library. Money from the library usually comes from things like overdue fines, printing services, notary requests, room rentals, and donations from patrons. But we are an independent library, so all of our funding comes through requests to the county, the state, the city, and donations. And salaries are our over half of our budget, so that's why we are making the request for $75,000. We're trying, as I said in years past, we try to keep our salaries competitive, and we base it off of the Sussex County pay scale. So the contribution from the city allows us to keep our wages in line with the Sussex County pay scale. I also just I added in here our plans for the future of the library, because that was part of last year's request too. Which, again, I want to stress that none of the city funds go towards our capital campaign. That is separate. Our capital expenses for renovations and years down the line, Warrington Road, that's funded through state bond bill reimbursements, and we'll be starting a capital fundraising campaign soon. We've also got $3 million from ARPA that's going to be going towards the renovations. And we're hoping to start renovations September 2025 and be finished by May 2026. The staff will continue to work through this period. We'll remain open for limited services. We're not doing any layoffs, so that's why we still need the money for salaries. And does you have any questions?
Your previous slide there.
Yes.
Can you just expand for us laypersons that haven't been following what's going on? Are you retaining the entire building and renovating the entire building? Or are you going to be renting out part of it? Like, as a follow-through to our conversations that we had many, many months ago.
Yes, we are retaining the entire building. And the plan is we just hired Whiting Turner in November. They're going to be our construction manager at risk. And they will be renovating one half of the building while we're providing library services in the other. And then when they're finished with that half of the building, we'll swap and we'll offer services from the newly renovated portion, and they will renovate the other half of the building. Did you have anything you want to add, Kay?
I'm Kay Wheatley, president of the board, and I just wanted to be very clear, all of the money that you guys, all of you, give to the library stays downtown, and that is always the intent. We are starting a capital campaign in April to help with the additional funds needed for the renovation. The renovation is running between $7 and $8 million. We have $3 million from ARPA. We have some bond bill, and we need some from the community in order to complete. If we have raised that money by September, I don't know when Labor Day is yet, but the day after Labor Day, or sometime in September, we will start the renovation. In the first part of the building that we're going to do is where the current entrance is, and include the upstairs. The other end of the building, we're going to add a door, a temporary door, so that that can still offer library services. And then, as Lauren said, that'll be swapped. We are taking a look at adding some additional space. It's in with the architect right now. I can't tell you. I don't think it would be much. I don't know if we would do it. I don't know where it would be. Okay, so we're just looking at options, and most of that space would be used for library services, additional meeting rooms or study rooms, things like that. If there is any opportunity to rent to help generate some income, it's going to be minimal. Does that answer your questions?
Sure.
Okay.
So you're, just to review, your ask this year is $75,000.
It's the same as
and
last
the
year.
previous 2 years have been $75,000.
Right. If you want to give more, we're open.
Yes.
You know, the other thing I would like to ask, we have provided, I believe, all the information you requested, because last year's money was given to us in 2 parts. We've received one, we still haven't received the other part. Does anybody know, is there something you're waiting for?
We'll look into it.
Okay, because we could really use that money to finish out payroll for the rest of the year.
Okay. There were probably conditions put on it, and
There
There
were,
might
and
need to be a
we have
follow-through.
answered them all to our knowledge over the past, since the beginning of the year, maybe even the end of last year, and we still haven't received anything.
okay,
And if there's more information you need, if we have it, we're willing to give it to you.
sure.
Yeah,
Commissioners?
we'll reach out to you for sure.
Okay.
Commissioners, have any questions?
I just said,
Commissioner Marker?
when you said your anticipated time frame for construction will begin in September, and that's for the first half?
No, actually, we're going to try to do both halves.
And by May?
Right.
Okay,
And just so everybody knows, for clarification, because of a headline over a year ago, Rehoboth Beach Public Library downtown location is not closing. That being said, there will be intermittent closures of a week to 2 weeks. An example is we need to build a wall to separate the two so that we can still operate during renovations.
Okay.
Another time is we're gonna have to close, the cement has to be, the flooring has to be drilled up in order to put plumbing and wiring down, and that's extremely noisy. So we would close for probably about 10 days while that's being done.
Okay,
So there will be closures. None of them are permanent.
okay.
And also, just gonna add, like, because we're receiving ARPA money, funding, that money has to be spent, and the building has to be operational by December 2026.
Right.
So
Okay.
we have that hard deadline anyway.
We're not willing to lose $3 million.
Okay.
Very good, thank you.
And
Commissioner Shanowski?
City Manager, this $75,000 ask is currently in the budget?
Yes, it's built into the 26 budget.
Mayor, I'm in favor of supporting them at the same level that we have in the past, and
May go to the members of the
oh,
public.
yeah, sorry.
All right. Any members of the public, Jeffrey? Come to the microphone if you would, please state your name and relationship to the city.
Yes, hi, I'm Jeffrey Good. I live in the city. My comments aren't, they'll be specific to the library, but they're also more general. There's a sort of a big elephant in the room that I was listening on before I got here, and no one seems to be talking about it. And that's, while everyone says we have a balanced budget, which we do technically, we don't have a healthy budget. We don't have a healthy finance situation in this town. Why I say that? Well, our budget has gone up from a little less than 30 million to a little over 43 million in the last 4 years. The inflation rate is 58%, while the CPI over that same period was about 19 to 20%. So that's something to keep note of. Our budget is balanced because we took, I believe, about $5.5 million loan out to help pay for the lifeguard station. So that's another reason the budget is balanced. I was listening about the stormwater impact fee. implementation, and I think that's literally insane. We have such a small town. To put a whole new administrative staff to deal with that, or take the time from our current administrative staff, makes zero sense. And I don't know what you guys could do about it now. I know you had a task force and everything, but it's just going to be, we have $300,000 consulting to get that all set up. I wish I was here for that. I was doing something else. So if you guys could reconsider that, you'd save so much money and just put it in the general fund for what it takes to keep our stormwater. And it's so complicated. You're going to have look at what people's grass is like. It's just insane. It really is. And you need a huge city to do something like that. Now, to get to the library now, I don't believe they deserve the $75,000. I mean, it's a nice thing, but Lewis, it was a much bigger, nicer library. They get $5,000, their library. Why do we have to give them $75,000? And that's just a way to start to save some money before. Oh, I think our debt, I forgot to mention that's the most important thing. Our debt is $68 million for a small town. Okay, 5 seconds. We can't be borrowing more money and then saying we have a balanced budget. That's fiscal malpractice. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Say hi to your wife, Commissioner Suzanne Good. Anybody else? State your name and relationship to the city, please.
Hi, my name's Mary Costa, and I'm a resident of downtown Rehoboth Beach. I'm also the president of the Friends of the Library. And I'm imploring to you, please support the library. I heard what he said, but the library provides a function to you, to your children, to our community. And a good library, a healthy library with enough media is what we need to send the right message to all of our residents and to the tourists that come to this town. They do an amazing job with what they've got, and they're working every single day. And we, the Friends, all of our fundraising is here in the city. And I know that many of you are supporters, and we appreciate that. And we would want your support this time. So thank you so much for your past support of the library and for, I hope, this year's too.
Thank you. Anybody else? If not, we'll bring it back up here.
Mayor, if I can just say one thing to answer Mr. Good. Having been born and raised here, I will tell you that there are differences between the communities, even though they're only 7 miles apart. In the relationship with the city of Seaford, or city of Lewis, and their library is different than the relationship with Rehoboth Beach Public Library and the city of Rehoboth.
Thank you. As Commissioner Shanowski indicated, there is money already in the budget for $75,000, and you were supportive. We can come back to this after we hear from the others, or we can agree to give that amount of money or a different amount. Anybody comment? Commissioner Gossett?
I would think to honor the request, as we've provided that for the past 4 years, and no increase, but they obviously salaries have increased, and to be competitive with a workforce that is consistent and not a lot of turnover, which has certainly provided stability within that and the services provided. So I certainly support the $75,000 contribution.
I'm in agreement, by the way. Is there, now, we're not taking formal votes today. We could, but at some point, we will be doing a formal vote on the agenda, on the budget itself, and at that point, we would lock in everything. Anybody else?
I'll just say that I am also in agreement with both Ed and what Patrick said.
All right, very good, very good. Thank you.
Something I believe.
I just wanted to add, I wanted to stress one word that is absent from the name on the building, and that's free. Yes, this is an amenity that makes a town a town. I have no argument against, I certainly support their grant request. Okay.
So more emphasize on that it's free.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, Kay.
The last thing I will say is thank you all very much for your consideration and your mini vote. And we look forward to your formal vote, the 21st, I think?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lauren.
Mayor, if I could, I just wanted to address the library's contribution, final contribution, the payment for that. So they did receive the $40,000, which was, okay, $75,000 total in the current fiscal year budget. They received $40,000. The final remaining payment is $35,000. That is made payable when they present a construction schedule for the downtown location, which they have done. It is embedded in the agenda, in the support document. There is a link, just for members of the public, there's a link for all of the grant applications that were submitted. They were all placed on the Civic Web portal. So if you find the library's contribution request, you'll see, I think it's towards the very end, there is a construction schedule that was submitted. Additionally, the details of how construction and the ongoing services for the downtown location will be funded, I think they addressed that today. I did have a call with Lauren the other week and asked them to present that information today. Assuming the commissioners are satisfied, we will go ahead and deem that that last condition has been met and release the final payment of $35,000 to the library. So I just wanted to address that.
That's fine.
Yeah. Mayor, in reviewing the complete application, that the requirement has been met, in my opinion.
Thank you.
And I think to authorize that payment is fine.
I don't think we need to take any formal action, but please do. Thank you.
Okay, so next we have Rehoboth Beach Main Street. Their request this year is $60,000, and that's also programmed in the fiscal year 26 budget. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dan Slagle, Executive Director, and everyone else.
Thank you.
Dan, at some point, make sure everybody's introduced, please.
I will, I certainly will.
I'll introduce myself.
You will, okay.
You can start.
Okay. Good afternoon, City Mayor, Commissioners, and thank you for listening to what we have to say today. My name is Dan Slagle. I'm the Executive Director of Rehoboth Beach Main Street.
I'm Susie Martin, and I'm the president of the board of Rehoboth Beach Main Street, and Dan and I will be talking in addition to Cindy and Jerry Philbin.
Who, okay. Paper here. I need my paper. Oh. Here we go. Okay. So I just want to start off a few things why Main Street is so important for your downtown. And just to let you know, we are accredited Main Street for National Main Street across the United States. And we're very proud of that because there's a lot of work that goes in to become an accredited Main Street. I want to talk a little bit about what the city has. The tourism appears 43 times in the city's comprehensive development plan. Included in the city's vision statement is this: a vision for community services. Rehoboth Beach is a year-round community with seasonal tourism and its major industry. It maintains significant city infrastructures to serve all of its community's interests. It's a natural environment, its residents, its businesses, its tourists, and its regional function. Main Street directly impacts city's vision for community services as demonstrated by our mission statement, which is Rehoboth Beach Main Street is a non-for-profit, volunteer-driven organization. Our mission is to foster and promote a vibrant, year-round, in-town experiences for businesses, residents, and visitors alike. Yeah. There's our vision, okay? Whoop, I'm going the wrong way here, okay. Our goal, as you can see, is to assist the businesses community to maintain and the prosperous and vibrant economy that the residents and visitors have come to enjoy, as well as promote all of our coastal community. As you see, we have a wall of fame in our office, at the RBM office. This is different events that we promote throughout the year. Also, Reads Across America, which is a community event. So this is a wall of fame that we're very proud and honored to present to you and show you. Why is the city's financial support important? The city's investment is matched nearly 4-to-1 memberships, donations, events, and grants from other sources. City investment to RBMS is key in getting contributions from other sources, such as state grants. City support is necessary for our Main Street America accreditation. And what I mean by that is for our accreditation, we have to show city support. And of course, every year you do support us, and we're able to get our accreditation. So we're much appreciative of that. RBMS's Development Committee is actually working on a significant multi-year financial commitments from foundations, corporations, and private donors. Funding from the city provides support across all components of our program. We are grateful to the city's generous past support. We really appreciate it. And I will hand this over to Susie.
I get to talk to you a little bit about the structure and makeup of our board. We've worked really hard over the last 3 or 4 years to involve more residents onto the board. So currently we have 4 downtown residents as full board members. We have 4 that are ex officio board members. And then we also have 4 businesses that are members of our board. So again, we've really worked to be inclusive of Rehoboth and get them involved in our process. Let's see if I can do this myself. I'm just talking a little bit about our events right now. I think I went one too far. Yeah, I did. Thank you. Our membership is a cross-section, so this just gives you a breakdown of the different types of businesses we have that are our members. We do membership on a rolling basis, so it's hard to pinpoint, but March of last year to March of this year, we're up 147 to 163. So that's Dan's job, and he does a great job at getting out there and interacting with the businesses and getting them to have some skin in the game, so to speak. We're going to talk couple different times today about our events because, again, it's a major source of our funding. But the reason we do our events is to bring people into town. So we bring the nearby neighbors, the people who live close and don't always come into the city. It's also a benefit to the city. We get a lot of tourists that come down just for these events. And across the board, it benefits all the businesses, the hotels, the restaurants, the shops. And that's why we do what we do. Cindy Lovett will talk about Rehoboth and Bloom.
I bet you're shocked I get to talk about this slide. So we are steady as she goes, starting our 7th year for Rehoboth and Bloom. We're pretty excited. It's just the best group of people. So our oldies dance is Friday the 28th. I'm sorry, it's the Bloom and Dance Party. Is the 28th from 7 to 10 on Friday. It's here at the Convention Center. And this is our only major fundraiser, but the excitement this year is that we have the Funsters providing the music. And we're really hoping that they're going to draw a bunch of new people for us. You can get tickets at Main Street or you can get them online at our website at downtownrb.com. We advertise on all the posters that we say, dine downtown, then come over and dance, because we're always trying to get people in town. All of our events are to try to get people to come downtown in the off-season. If you notice, all of our events are in the off-season, not during the summer. The other thing that we're doing different this year is Radio Rehoboth is going to be broadcasting at least a portion of the dance and, letting people know that they can hear the music and all that kind of stuff. So as far as Bloom goes, we've ordered 1,050 plants this year. We have 80 volunteers, 112 planters, and 4 gardens. The Verrazano garden was cleaned out and planted at the request of the city. We took 60 bags, the big brown bags you see there, of debris and invasive species out. And we have plans on adding some new native plants to the dune. So we are having a big event, a breakfast, which the city is kind enough to allow us to use the 3rd floor. So we get our crew together twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. And we'll be having a breakfast up there on the 3rd floor. I forget the date of that, but if you hear the ruckus up there, come up and join us. Does anybody have any questions? Nobody? Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Jerry Philbin, and I'm the Secretary of the Board of Directors of Rehoboth Beach Main Street. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is, there we go. One of the ways we do what we do is to use every means of communication that we have available to us to promote downtown Rehoboth, the downtown Rehoboth experience, not just in and around here, but out a distance. I'll get into that a little bit more, but we're using Google advertising to reach out to the 4 major metropolitan areas on the eastern seaboard. What is it we actually do in the publications? We promote our businesses. We do in our newsletter, for instance, business showcases. We do quick mentions in our social media. And we do congratulations and thank you to all our new and renewing members in all of our social media as well as our website. We have an expanded website now with over 29,000 viewers across the year. Most of the views, go figure, were the webcams. People want to look and see what's going on in this town. Our homepage was popular. Off-season specials, very popular. We renew those every week on the website. A shops directory about us and events filled in most of the other or the major categories. On social media, our Facebook reach has expanded tremendously. We had 178,000 people tune into our Facebook account last year. Of those, 110 reached further. They clicked on something and went to look for something. So this is a metric for us. We still have to work on it, obviously, to a metric to us that this continued expansion of the way people look at us on Facebook as an indicator is working. Instagram the same way. A lot of people who look, then some portion of those click and go deeper, look at the comments, for instance. One of the things I wanted to mention was the fact that we run Google advertising in Baltimore, Washington, New York, and Philadelphia. We had almost 48,000 people look at those, and just under 1,000 people clicked and went deeper, came to the site, looked for a business. We think that these metropolitan areas represent a ripe market for us. The ocean is nearer than you think, as well as the whole downtown experience. I want to bounce for a minute just to what we've done relative to our strategic plan. We had a lot of good conversation last year about the development of the strategic plan and the activities within our work plan that support it. And just a quick read down, there are the 3 goals synopsized from our strategic plan. But to look at it, for instance, achieving our first year funding goal for development was high on our list. That's goal 3. Increased membership, also goal 3, fulfilled commitment for 4 major promotional events for downtown Rehoboth, that's goal 1. I want to bounce quickly to one, rather than read this down. What I want to go down to is that we worked with the Rehoboth Beach Elementary School to find free workforce parking for last summer, and we're working on that again this year. But that became a major contribution to the businesses here to get their people parked and parked in a way that they weren't spending a large part of what they were making. So this was our commitment to making downtown a more accessible place to work for people who are often working at tipped wage. And we want to do more on that. Certainly we've been talking about the issue of workforce housing. We're not in the conversation really yet, and we want to get back into that. But whatever we can do to help the workforce come work, enjoy, support the people who come here is important to us. A quick word about how we've grown this year. Of course, Susie made reference to the fact that we've grown in membership. We are managed very effectively in that context, as well as others, by Dan Slagle. He's our local miracle worker up at the other end of the avenue to get our membership up, and that constitutes also a major source of our revenue for the things that we do. This year we converted a contractor staff to part-time. It was more appropriate when we looked at the description of her work to make her a part-time program manager, and that has helped Dan out greatly. I just want to point to a minute for the board, to the board of directors and the talents we bring. A lot of us are retired people with time on our hand, but not everyone. But our skills include business management, government program management, not-for-profit management, community-based programs, education, foundation networks, and finance and accounting and legal, if I didn't say that. The board includes business owners and residents of the city as well as nearby neighbors. One of the things we added this year was doing a lot of promotion on Radio Rehoboth. During the course of the year, we turned over 600 announcements. There were acknowledgments of our members largely, but they were also public service announcements. To do this, we are a supporter of Rehoboth Radio Rehoboth, excuse me. But for a very minimal investment, we get the opportunity 3 times a day, 5 days a week, to tell people about Rehoboth and about our businesses here and about events that are happening. We continue to use our ambassador program. Every higher level donor has an individual ambassador from among our volunteers. Businesses that donate are members at the base level. Our program manager, our part-time program manager, is the one in charge of being in contact with them throughout the year, and we report to them on a regular basis about the services we have delivered specifically to them, and it's our opportunity to get feedback from them on what it is we could be doing better. A quick look at some numbers. Your turn. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was roaring. So this is just a look at our volunteer hours since 2021, and you'll see that even since last year, we've expanded from 7,850 hours to over 8,300 hours this year. That's the equivalent of 4 full-time equivalents, all in volunteer effort. And we continue to grow, and people continue to be interested in what we do for the city. A quick look at budget. You received an updated budget sheet on the handout, and Evan was nice enough to load this up. We had a correction to make yesterday, which did not affect our request from the city. It did affect the number that is our overall budget. You see that our budget from last year to this year has risen by about 11 or 12%. But the request we're making this year is the same as we did last year of $60,000. But as a percentage of our total budget, that's now dropped to 20%, 1/5 of what we take to operate. A quick look at the revenue side. As you see, program event revenue has grown to be our major source. We very much appreciate the City of Rehoboth's contribution, which is at 20%. But we can't overemphasize that as well as memberships, program events revenue really has become the major source of what we do. A quick look at expenses. As you've seen with some of the other organizations that are asking, salaries and benefits really account for the major part of what we need to operate. Other administrative costs and the costs of putting these programs and events on come up to better than 75, almost 80% of what we do. There we go. Now I can get out of here.
You get to hear from me again. We do a financial review. We did a review of our finances for 22-23 and got a clean bill of health. We paid a significant amount of money to do that, but that's what a responsible organization needs to do. We are currently having an independent financial review for our 2024, and we expect that to be equally a clean bill of health. And we've taken on a project in the last year or so to try to get a historical designation for the post office and also to renovate it and make it ADA compliant. We're well on the way for the historical designation. We've been working with Emily Whaley, who is the Delaware State Historic Designation Officer. And in fact, we have a meeting this just came in just this afternoon. We're going to be meeting with her Thursday afternoon because we've submitted an initial response to what they're looking for. I think we sent a copy of that to Commissioner Gossett. He's our liaison. And so she's going to have a Zoom meeting with us Thursday to go over where we are and if we're on track and next steps. It's very, very hard to say what will happen with the ADA compliant and the renovation money. We have had feedback from the congressional delegation that they did a 30% budget review, and we don't know where that will go with the current administration. But we're hopeful that at least we'll get the historic designation and take it from there. Whoops. Yeah. Whoop, too many. All right. There you go. This is you, Dan. That's you.
I'm back. This is one of my favorites. So we have a few events coming up, and as you can see, also I wanted to talk about who we work with in this city, and I think that's important to know is that we work with the Rehoboth Beach Library, the City of Rehoboth, the Chamber of Commerce. I attend a lot of their meetings. The Rehoboth Beach Museum. We're actually partnering together on an event, so this is our first. Working with Clear Space, the Rehoboth Beach Volunteer Department, and citywide events. So our upcoming events, please join us, is the Rehoboth Blooming Dance Party, and it is on Friday, March 28th. We are excited about our Gumbo Crawl. It is going to be on April 5th from noon to 4. The Margarita Crawl will be on Saturday, May 31st. We have our holiday stroll again coming up, the Community Unity Dinner, and one of my favorites is Reads Across America. So we are looking forward to those events, and we will end it with our president speaking. Thank you. I wanted to say something real quick. I want to thank Craig. He's our city liaison. Thank you for everything. We invite him to our meetings, and thank you.
I'm the closer here. So in closing, we do want to express our gratitude to the city commissioners for the support financially and otherwise that you've given us over the past few years. We feel like we're a very important economic link to this city. We bring in tourism. We try and bring in people in the off-season because people are going to come here in the summer. They don't need us. But in the off-season, when the businesses struggle, we try and really generate income. We looked up some tourism figures for the state of Delaware, and in Delaware, tourism full-time and part-time creates about 55,000 jobs. In Sussex County, it's about 27,000 jobs. So tourism is really key to Rehoboth Beach, to the future success of it, and we feel like we are a good link to that. We help encourage tourism, thoughtful tourism, and we try and encourage, again, off-season tourism. That's one of the things that we've always tried to do is make Rehoboth. We all consider it our hometown, and we want people to come and enjoy it responsibly. Also, volunteers are the cornerstone of our organization. I think on one of the slides, we have a tremendous, I think 8,000 hours of volunteer to make all these things happen that we've told you about today. And so because I know I'm being recorded and other people might listen, I'm going to put in a little plea for volunteers. Anytime I speak in public, I say, I love Rehoboth Beach. It's my hometown, even though I don't live here. But I'd encourage people to come and volunteer with us because none of this would happen without volunteers. We have 1.45 full-time employees to get all this done. So it takes a lot of people with a lot of heart working behind the scenes to make this happen. So again, I'd like to thank the commissioners for their support, and we're open to questions.
Thank you, Sue. Any questions before I go to the public? No. Any members of the public like to speak? Jeffrey? Again, state your name and relationship to the city.
Sure. Jeffrey Good, resident. Okay, so today it seems that we have 4 nonprofit organizations that are asking for money. The Rehoboth Beach Volunteer Fire Company, the library, Main Street, and then the Historical Society. I, of course, agree that a fire company, it's a safety, public safety and health, it's essential, and yes, of course, I would support Rehoboth Fund taxpayers helping to pay for fire protection. That goes without saying to me. But the others, they might be very nice things to have, but I'm not sure why the taxpayers have to support it. I mean, they have a lot of volunteers. Let them support it. There's, we didn't get, that goes for the library and Historical Society and Main Street. It doesn't have to be the city always supporting the nonprofit groups. They could, if they're so popular, they could support themselves. Also, we recently had an election, and the two people that won the election, I believe they won it because Craig has some financial expertise. Suzanne was really, she's an economist. She really wanted to rein in costs. And now it seems it's worse than ever. Like, there's no, why aren't you guys representing the taxpayers of this city? I don't think most of the people of this city want to have $70 million, $68 million in debt and keep throwing more and more money at whoever's asking you for it. We have a dock that's probably going to need $500,000 to fix the retaining wall because we have all that utility pipes going through there. We're going to have tons of money needed for this. You're going to have the stormwater utility, which, as I said already, it seems to me to be absurd. And it goes on and on and on, and we'll end up being bankrupt one of these days. Not too soon. We have a limit of 75 million, and we're at 68. We're in trouble. And even though we, quote, have a balanced budget, we're in trouble. And just like on other federal levels, other states, we have to start reining in our belt. And if we don't, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. That's all.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Commissioner, former Commissioner, Jay Legree.
Well, I'm sorry, did you?
No, we're doing the public right now.
I have a story. You all love my stories. In November of 2017, I sat up there in that back spot, and Stan and Patrick and Tony and Lisa and Kathy and Main Street was hanging by a thread. I mean, a thread. Their records were in a broom closet somewhere downstairs. I mean, but we knew that we really needed them for this town, and we knew that they were spirit building. They did all kinds of great things in other towns. Why not here? And we kept them going. It was tough. And then they had a little group. They had Cindy, and Ed was one of their core people, and a few others, and Greer, and they found Dan. And man alive, we got blooms. We have all kinds of spirit among the businesses in town and events and everything to keep the people going and the community unit. We have all kinds of stuff that directly goes to Main Street. It's like a skyrocket, this group, what they've done. Give them whatever they want.
Well, thank you. I'm going to second that one. I appreciate that. And just, I know that all of Mr. Good's comments weren't directed specifically to Main Street, but I do want to say we're more than a nice organization. I think we're a vital organization, and I think we provide a vital service to the city. I think I was trying to give you some tourism statistics to show you that. For Rehoboth and Bloom alone, the volunteer hours more than cover. If we were to pay $15 an hour, if the city were going to pay $15 an hour to maintain those planters and gardens, it's more than what you're giving us. So just to put it in perspective, we're not, the volunteers are providing a lot of support. None of this would happen without it. And we just want to, again, thank you and hope that we will again receive your support.
Thank you. Any other members of the public?
Mayor, if I could.
If not, we'll bring it back here. Commissioner Thayer?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so, if you laugh. I just want to thank you for bringing up Bloom and the volunteer hours of Bloom.
Yes.
I would, though someone got up and commented that we need the firehouse, but we don't necessarily need the other three organizations, I would disagree. I think we need all of these organizations. And I appreciate you calling out the number of hours that Bloom puts in to do everything they do around this town.
I did the math yesterday, and I forget the exact number, Jerry, but it was just over $60,000 just for Bloom, not to mention any of the other volunteer hours, including the board. You know, we have a fantastic board that, thank you, Commissioner Legree, for reminding us where we've come from, because we were hanging by a thread, and we've come back strong, and it takes volunteers, and it takes the right volunteers. And so, again, I think we're worth your investment.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. So.
Any other questions, Susie?
Commissioner Saunders?
I'm sorry for thinking, comments. I just want to say, I think that you guys are a bargain. I would hate to think that we would have to pay if we had to pay for all the services that provided. I cannot disagree with Mr. Goodmore. I think you've made Rehoboth great again, and I appreciate that. And I'm all for giving you what you asked for, up to $60,000.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
So as a reminder, their ask is for $60,000. That's what Taylor put in the budget. And it looks like the last at least 2 or 3 years were that same amount
Yes.
there. So I am very comfortable in giving you that amount. I think you've done a phenomenal job, and you do an absolutely fantastic job with your application, and we appreciate that. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Commissioner Marker?
Yeah, I just want to make the comment that as above what your achievements that you've made in terms of promoting the city and the events in the city, the fact that I just want to stress the volunteers and the services that you've done, not only just the beautification, which makes the place look nice and nice to be, it's like a no-brainer, but you've also cultivated that in other organizations. I can share. It was last year, but the Trees and Green Infrastructure Group was assisted by, I think, at least half of them were your volunteers. And the fact that they're it's like, why would somebody come from somewhere else, like for a kind of a cold January day, and they were like, everybody was like thrilled to be there. It was just, how you've engendered that feeling and support of the city, which I think we all have. But the fact that some of these folks don't even live here, I just think is wonderful. So I just want to, certainly I support the organization.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to tell you, so something really cool, it just gives me chills. When I started Rehoboth and Bloom, the first thing I did was got together with Warren Goldie and Marilyn Vi, I think her name was, who were the 2 top people at Lewis and Bloom. Took them to lunch, picked their heads for an hour and a half on how to start it. So they started me, which started us, and I was so pleased to be able to do the same for Dewey and Bloom. I met with those ladies, I don't know how many times, and got them started and got them going. And I think they bought 25 planners, and so now they're ongoing also. So it's really wonderful how it came from Lewis community to the Rehoboth community to the Dewey community, and brings us all together. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to echo probably what everyone had said. You guys are a bargain. Besides, the volunteer hours and what that would cost if the city were to pay for it. There's a lot of municipalities that do pay for services like that. And what other people don't realize as well is you have some great events, and you promote this city in a way that we can ourselves as a municipality. And every time that someone drives in, pays to park, stays in a hotel room, you rents a house, that's money that they're paying in fees and taxes that directly go back to the city. And that's very valuable, besides everything else that isn't quite as tangible that you guys do. So, and I just want to shout out that this organization came a long way in the past few years, and they are the gold standard of Main Streets, and they were referenced as the best in the state, and even at a national level are called upon to give talks and presentations about what it means to be a Main Street in a seasonal community. And so they're even recognized at a national level, and that's press you can't, we get for free, and and there's value to that too. So just a shout out to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. So is
Thank
there
you.
any disagreement with agreeing to $60,000 donation?
Yes.
No, there's no agreement, disagreement.
There's no
Agree.
disagreement.
We'll put it in the positive. Everybody agrees. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody at Main Street.
All right, so our final contribution to discuss for today's meeting is the Rehoboth Beach Historical Society Museum. So we have Executive Director Heidi Nastrom Evans here, and I will get their presentation up and turn it over to her.
Move this down a little bit. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us here today. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners and City Managers and all of you for being here. Thank you to Rose Schmidt and Carl Pierce from our Board of Directors who are in the audience, as well as Michelle Wilt, who volunteers in collections preservation, and our staff, Madeline Golden and Jill Sterner, and Paul Lovett, who gave us one of our major gifts in 2024, and I'll tell you more about that in my talk. So thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today about our grant request. I wanted to start with our new mission and vision statements that were developed over the past year during strategic planning, which you asked us to do, and we did it. So our mission statement is to preserve and celebrate the history of our diverse community. Our vision statement is that we wish to be a dynamic museum experience where history is meaningful and engaging for all. A bit about the museum's importance to the city. We are the primary cultural institution for Rehoboth Beach. We preserve and celebrate our city's heritage. And we're also a cultural landmark and an economic catalyst. We're located overlooking the Lewis-Rehoboth Canal at the entrance to downtown Rehoboth. In our 2024 grant request for $30,000, which was approved, there were conditions that we have satisfied, and I want to tell you a little bit about those. The city asked us to open our board meetings to the public, and we did that. And let me just add that the city's requests of us have been very beneficial. By opening the board meetings to the public, we have a lot of new people involved in our board committees, and that's all been a real positive experience for us. The city asked us to display the Paul Lovett's diorama, The Golden Age of Rehoboth, which you see on the screen. We did that. We featured that as our summer 2024 special exhibit, and we have since acquired the diorama, and it is on permanent display at the museum. The city also asked us to develop a strategic plan, which we submitted to the city. On the screen, you see like just the tip of the iceberg. I didn't want to get into it all here with you since all of you have received copies of our strategic plan, but just a little bit about our strategic priorities moving forward. For our people, we want to invest in our staff and volunteers to increase their job satisfaction, ability to lead, and participate effectively. For funding, which I think you all are very interested in, we are planning to grow and diversify our funding streams to strengthen our financial security and to ensure we have the resources to achieve our vision and mission. As far as governance is concerned, we are recruiting, developing, and seeking to sustain a high-quality diverse, engaged, connected, and supportive board of directors. As for external relations, we are developing and fostering positive relationships with our members, the community, and government officials. The city also asked us to develop metrics, and we did that, and we call it our fundraising plan. Just a note about our 2024 fall winter appeal. We almost tripled the amount that we raised during that appeal due to the focused requests of our board members. So by looking into where we can build our budget, we've really made some inroads already, which we look forward to building upon as we move forward. The metric that you see on the screen is a forecast of our major income sources for the museum, looking back to 2023, but going through 2027. And what you can see there in orange is the city's contribution to the museum. Above that in blue is the state grant funding that we receive. Our beach ball, which we host annually, is in yellow. The grants, other than what we get from the city and state, is the green segment, which you'll see is growing, as well as private donations is an area that we've identified as a resource moving forward into the future. Our goal over time is to become more self-sufficient and less reliant on city funding. Our funding plans, and what you see on the screen here is our strategic initiative, is to grow and diversify our funding to strengthen the Historical Society's financial security and ensure it has resources to achieve its vision and mission. Our goal is to reduce our reliance on City of Rehoboth funding over the next 3 years, and our success indicator is that the city's grant will account for a lower percentage of the Historical Society's income as our overall gross income increases. Our action plans include increasing fundraising and grant writing. We're already making the most out of the gift of the Golden Age of Rehoboth diorama. All the proceeds from events and activities at the museum go towards the museum's funding. We are enhancing our beach ball this year and have associated events planned to go with that. And we're increasing the grant applications that we're writing outside of the city and state. Point number 2, we are seeking to diversify and increase the number of fundraisers we host. This year, we're adding 2 new fundraising events. We are also hiring a fundraising consultant to develop a long-term funding plan for us. We are establishing a legacy fund, and we hope by 2027 to add a full-time development staff person so that we will be able to have somebody working around the clock on making us some money. Point number 3 is that we're increasing our exhibits and programming to bring people into the museum and to get them excited about what's new and what we have going on. We're also looking forward to developing more business and corporate sponsors for our exhibits, as well as seeking grants for those projects and increasing the revenue from ticket sales. We have, as point number 4 says, we have a dedicated membership campaign going on, which includes membership and volunteers. We seek to reinvigorate current members and volunteers, and we're looking into ways to attract that large new population of recent transplants that has moved to the area. Finally, point number 5, we've enhanced our digital marketing, and we want to do more of that, and we want to be more visible. I mean, as if the dolly sign isn't the most visible thing you see when you're crossing the bridge, a lot of people still may not realize that that indicates that we're the museum, but we're working on those things as well to increase our visitation and participation. So our accomplishments, we ended 2024 in the black, which is a good thing for us. And we're moving in the positive direction with our funds and our budget. We instituted a working board with active committees that are really helping us get things done at the museum. We've increased our programming and events. And as Dan from Main Street mentioned earlier, in the partnership we're doing on our winter bus trip coming up in April, we are partnering more and more with local organizations and businesses. And in 2024, we introduced an annual summer exhibit. Every year now, we are going to introduce at the kickoff of the summer season a new exhibit to bring people into the museum. And then the last point on this page is that we are working, we have introduced cloud-based IT collections, membership, and finance systems, and we are working our way further into the 21st century. So this year we've asked for $50,000 from the city, and I wanted to let you know what we were asking, why we were asking for that money, to help us foster our growth initiatives. We're still considerably asking for a lot less than the city awards to other nonprofits. These funds are vital for funding our ongoing operations, offsetting our increased staffing costs, helping us hire a fundraising consultant to develop our long-term fundraising plan. We need help with our IT so we can have a better web presence and publicize our programs and events better. And we need a website upgrade and an increased social media presence. So some of our exciting 2025 offerings that your funds help make possible. Coming up on April 3rd, we have Reaching Out Across the Aisle with Senators Russ Huxtable and Senator Brian Pettyjohn, who are going to come to the museum and talk to us about how they're getting things done together at Legislative Hall to make Sussex County a better place for all of us to live in. We have an exhibit that's opening up this month called From Family Treasures to Shared History. And what's really nice about this exhibit is that these are recent gifts to the museum from 2024 that are being highlighted. But what we're doing is featuring the words of the people who gave us these gifts, their words about why they thought these pieces are meaningful to them personally and why they think they have meaning for other people and should be at the Historical Society. Among the amazing gifts that we received last year is a beautiful collection from Judge Jim Horn, whose family has saved things since Horn's Pavilion was once on the end of Rehoboth Avenue with a pier going out into the Atlantic Ocean. So we have all of his beautiful archival photographs now in our collection, and they'll be featured in this exhibit. We're also going to have a photo ID night celebrating this recent gift with Judge Horn there, along with other experts who can help us identify the many things that are pictured in the photographs. and some of our other great offerings that I think that you'll see how exciting things are at the museum when you see that we're sponsoring a bus trip up to Winneter in partnership with Rehoboth Beach Main Street. That's going to be on April 30th. We also, our summer exhibit this summer, which is going to be amazing and has never been done before, is an exhibit celebrating Rehoboth's African-American history. We're really looking forward to that. Braden Moore, who started as an intern at the museum, who is now on staff, he's working on this topic as his master's thesis topic at University of Delaware. So he's leading this project, and we're also partnering with Mal Meehan, who is a amazing designer from Milton. He's done a lot of the set designs for Milton Theater, if you've been to any of their wonderful shows. So this exhibit is going to open Memorial Day, and we are expecting a very nice grant from the Delaware 250 grant project program, that will help us fund that exhibit. We've also received another grant from Smart Delaware Division of the Arts to host an exhibit in the fall with local artist Heidi Lowe, which is going to be called Metal and Memory, where she's going to interpret 5 artifacts from the collection that represent our diverse community, and it's going to be a dialogue between the artifact, the artist, and the historical context for that conversation. Our Paul Lovett talks will continue. Jean Brolin, who gives our wonderful our walking tours in the summer, she's planning to come back again. And then we're going to have a big beach ball this fall at the Cambria Hotel. So we're planning some new things with that and have a lot in store for the community to enjoy. So we thank you very much for your ongoing support, and we're here to answer any questions if you have them, and thanks once again.
Thank you. So again, the ask this year is $50,000. Previous years, it was $30,000. And you gave an explanation. Before I go to the public, is there anybody up here that would like to speak up? Commissioner Shinowski?
Yeah, I was just going to clarify. I think the ask last year was 60, and they were only granted 30.
30, correct. I believe so. Anybody else?
Yeah, quick question if I could, Mayor. Can you go back? One of your slides showed future budgets and our percentage. And I'm just trying to understand, so if you look at 27, and it's hard to see from here, you're asking for 50 this year. You're anticipating asking for more next year. Is that what I see? Or
well, what we're hoping is that we will grow the sections that relate to private donation and grants other than the city and the state grants, and try to continue to keep our funding from the city relatively the same, so that it accounts for 15% of our budget versus what it accounts for presently, which is 16 or 17%.
I think it does increase, but the overall, it's a smaller percentage.
So you are anticipating that in future years you'll come back with requests for additional money?
In future years, we will request additional money, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Commissioner Marker?
Yeah, I'd just like to comment. I would say that, the last year's grant, which was, effectively one that was less than what was requested, came at a very difficult time for the organization. I mean, I think you had just arrived, and it was, I can only say as a liaison that they have transformed their board. they were able to get the strategic planning process underway and completed. They have brought the diorama to as a permanent display, and I think that certainly is the most fitting place for it. And I think people, certainly the success of that alone, and now the association of it to the organization, I think is a big positive. The beach ball is kind of a main fundraising event and a very fun event that kind of historically has been that. And I think that's going to be expanded much this year. I think it's going to be very exciting kind of change to the event. And I can only say I feel like they're on a roll. And much in the way of comments that former Commissioner Legree said, in terms of, the sort of comparison to Main Street. I mean, I feel like this organization is certainly on a roll. They've got new leadership. The board has expanded. I mean, I can only endorse what they're doing, and I urge my fellow commissioners to approve the grant that they've requested.
Evan, might you be able to give us a very quick summary on some of these agencies, on what the city does to maintain their buildings? For instance, the fire company, I don't think we do anything. Library, at this point, we don't do anything. But for Main Street and the Historical Society, I believe we do have a maintenance agreement to take care of certain elements of outdoor things. Could you just give a very quick?
Sure, Mayor, thank you, and Heidi can correct me if I'm wrong. So typically, exterior maintenance is taken care of by the city. Anything internal is the responsibility of the organization. The lease agreement, I think, related to the Historical Society does say that if there is anything internal within the building that needs to be repaired, they have an ability to request that the city take a look at it and consider funding any repairs. And so on occasion, we will work with different groups. So I think in a couple instances, we have had our facilities manager go over to the Historical Society to kind of offer his expert opinion on certain issues that might be there. So typically, again, internal maintenance of the facility is the responsibility of the Historical Society. Exterior is city responsibility.
How about Main Street?
Main Street, we are still working on a lease agreement for Main Street, yes.
So there could be unanticipated interior expenses that the agencies have to come up with. Otherwise, we pay. For instance, the Historical Society roof, I think. Isn't that in our CIP for?
That one was moved out a little bit, but yes, we own the building, so we're responsible for items like that.
I'm just giving that as an FYI. I don't think it detracts from the amount of money we want to give them to operate. I would be very happy increasing and meeting their ask. Thank you. Yeah. Their ask and upping it to 50,000. Is there any other comment before I go to the public? Commissioner Saunders?
I just want to say, I think it's interesting that it's the Rehoboth Beach Museum, yet the private sector pays more than we do. I mean, we are getting a bargain again, as we said to Main Street. I think this is another bargain. If we look at this chart, the purple folks, the private donations, they far exceed what the city pays. So I think we're getting a triple return on our money.
Any members of the public? Jay and Jeffrey?
Go ahead, Jay. Hi again, Jeffrey Good, resident. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but if you take that $68 million we owe, the debt of Rehoboth Beach, and divide it by the number of taxpayers in this city, you're talking about $27,000 per taxpayer, the city already owes. And yet, I see there is not an ask or a project I mean, I've lived here 6 years and I could go through about 20 requests of this city and every single one of them gets approved. And it looks like this one will too. And they're no better or worse than anybody else. I just like the concept, I've been an economist for 40 years, that if it's such a good idea, it will generate its own money. You don't need the public sector constantly bailing out every single organization or project or plan. You know, I wasn't even thinking of the buildings. We have to spend probably $500,000 to shore up that whole area because of the dock that a lot of people were against. It sort of is breaking the retaining wall there. And this is going to go on and on and on. And you people are not representing the taxpayers of this city. Most people here are special interests. They're not the people who are paying the taxes. Why don't you represent us? Somebody has to. And so that's what I have to say about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Commissioner Jay?
I'm Jay LaGreen. I live in the city. My property tax just tripled about 4 or 5 days ago. I went from $2,000 to $6,000 per year. So it's no biggie. We'll pay it, but we're in Rehoboth Beach, and I'm proud to live in Rehoboth Beach. Rehoboth Beach is a successful city, and the premier planner in the United States, Ed McMahon, said, "Successful cities take care of their assets." And the Historical Society is an asset. They're just now turning around. They never knew what they were getting, I'm sure, when they hired Heidi. But she has more power than anybody up above. So I'm thinking that we're really, it was not a comparison, just an expletive. I'm thinking that they're going to have the same kind of success upward that we just saw Main Street. We just talked about Main Street. She's going to drive it. And Paul, thank you for Paul with the diorama. She incorporated that thing. They have Roger leading the board. They're going to do great things. And they're an asset, and let's take care of them. Give them the money.
Thank you. Paul? Paul, state your name in relationship to the city, please.
Yeah, I'm Paul Lovett, living at 4 Canal Street, and I am the contributor of the diorama. As you know, it was a struggle to get it into the museum, and it is thanks to Heidi's work that she negotiated it with a very difficult board to bring about the diorama into the museum and then to make it a permanent exhibit. I couldn't be happier. And I will continue to contribute my historical knowledge through the lectures and through virtually every couple of weeks presentations of the diorama itself, which draws new membership and new contributions to the museum. So it's thanks to her that happened. I just want to make sure you know that.
Thank you, Paul. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Rick, you'll be after.
Frank Ainer, and as of 3 weeks ago, an official resident. We have the license plates to prove it. We've been visiting Rehoboth since '79. We bought our first property in '98. We made the decision to retire here because of these wonderful organizations. So I appreciate your supporting them.
Thank you. Rick?
Richard Perry, resident of the city. I just want to say that I appreciate the fact that the commissioners recognize the value of all these organizations in most municipalities, they are part of the government structure. Museums, fire departments, everything like that. And as was mentioned also, for example, many, if not most municipalities where there are main streets, they are part of the city function. So we're not bailing out any of these organizations. We're supporting them for our citizens and for the health and viability of our community. I'm happy to have my tax dollars go towards that, to maintain Rehoboth Beach as a place for all of us to live and to enjoy, and for all of the visitors who come here. And every one of these organizations has volunteers. Main Street, for example, with over 8,300 hours in the last year of volunteer service, it is an insult to the volunteers to say, let them support it. Every hour that those volunteers put in is worth money. That is their support. And those of us who have the wherewithal to support organizations that we're involved with, like Main Street, we do that. But you cannot discount the value of the volunteer hours in any of these organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Anybody else?
This time I'm speaking as a resident of Rehoboth.
And your name?
Mary Costa. And I need to recognize that this is what makes Rehoboth such a great city to live in. I've been here for 20 years, and I love Rehoboth Beach. And it's because of the library. It's because of the Historical Society and a great volunteer fire department, and certainly Main Street. So it's those things that bring all of us here and bring our tax dollars to all of you. And we thank you for that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Carolyn?
Carolyn Diefendorfer, city resident, and yes, full disclosure, I am the assistant treasurer at Main Street. But as a city resident, I too appreciate that my tax dollars are used for some of these types of things. I love being here because I can walk to the businesses, I can walk to the library, I can walk to the museum, and I know exactly where the fire department is. I go by it every day. And I think people value having a vibrant city, and that's why they want to live here. If they didn't want to be in a city, they'd be out in the county. So, and I fully support using some of my tax dollars to, help every organization that's asking. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Anybody else? If not, we'll bring it back up here. Again, their ask is $50,000, up $20,000 from previous years. And I've already indicated I was favorable to that. Anybody else?
Yeah, Mayor, anyone else? I'll go ahead. So I admittedly, I will say that for the museum, at least the way that I look at it, the ROI is not as clear to me as some of the other organizations. But as a city that prides itself on maintaining its character, the special charm, the history, if we don't invest in documenting and protecting and showcasing what that history is, then how can we say that that's so ingrained in our fabric and what we care about? And so I think that's important, and I'm happy. I think at last year the museum was at a little bit of a crossroads, and we didn't support it fully to what the museum wanted. I think that was the right decision at the time. I think it put some more pressure on the board to make changes, and I think you've made those changes. I think you guys are doing a great job, and there's a lot of success slated for the future. So I'm happy to support it at what you're asking for this year.
Mayor, if I could, please.
Commissioner Thayer?
I'm not going to repeat what Commissioner Chernowski and Commissioner Markert said, but they bring up some very good points about the museum, where they were a year ago and where they are today. We did have a chance to meet, and one of my messages to you was, that renewed focus, that additional emphasis on, raising outside funds. And as I watch your presentation today, I definitely see the focus on that. So, I am going to support the request for $50,000 for the museum. I did ask a question about future years. I think from the earlier presentations, be it Main Street, be it the library, they've held at their level for a number of years in a row. So that would really be my ask from you, is that should be your goal, is not to come, in future years to hold the request at this level. But yeah, I'm on board with approving this. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
And
Anybody else?
Commissioner, I just want to say I concur with your sentiment there completely about sort of holding what you're asking for and not it increasing each year. I think that's been a very important thing that we've considered here each year is keeping it the same and not continually going up.
Thank you. Yes, I certainly also support the museum, the Historical Society, but I kind of want an overview of this. And this is a process that we started 2 years ago. And it has been a learning process on both sides. But I think the value in this, to me, is that this process and this exercise has really shown the value of the organizations to the communities. And more importantly, I think shown the value to the members of the organizations, taking a deeper look at themselves and what they've accomplished and what they're going to look at for the next few years to accomplish. So it is a process that's a growth process, and I think everybody is profiting from that, not in a dollar sense, but in a way that you understand the partnerships and the investments, two-way street of investments, some dollars and some investment in the community. And that's what makes a community, is these elements that we have. If you remember back the uproar that came out when we thought the library was leaving town, well, that's a crucial part of the community, as is the investment that Main Street is making in the post office to maintain and to improve the post office. These are all elements of that community. And this is a very, in my opinion, simple reinvestment in our community to keep it moving forward. So I support all of these and look forward to greater success next year.
Thank you very much. Very good. So thank you, Heidi. We appreciate you coming today.
I wanted to just thank you for your guidance, your partnership, and your ongoing support. Thank you from the whole Historical Society, not just from me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
With that, if we like, we go back to the Volunteer Fire Company. If you recall, their ask was $200,000 initially, plus an extra $50,000. We've granted them the $200,000. The $50,000 is in question. I offered one program that we perhaps delay on issuing our favor to grant that extra $50,000 until we have a better take on what the repairs would be or removal of the canal dock. And then any extra monies left over, then decide how to do it. But I mean, we could decide to just punt. We could also decide to say we will commit to it if we have the funds in 3 or 6 months.
Mayor,
Commissioner.
Just gonna ask, or is it possible that we could give them half, 25,000 this year, with the possibility of giving them 25,000 in another year, next year?
We can do whatever we want, sure.
Thought.
Yep. Ed?
Yeah, I mean, related to this discussion, I'd like to look at the budget overall. Can we jump into that?
Right now? Yeah, I guess I'm trying to figure out what are you trying to get into, because we've also,
I guess
we've
I'm
also
trying to-
got on the agenda the health insurance and salaries.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm specifically asking, and Evan, maybe you could pull it up, but looking at the overall budget packet on page 2, if I'm looking at this correctly, in the FY '26 preliminary budget, we have a surplus of $544,000.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
If that is the case, then I'd be inclined to grant the request for the additional $50,000 for the fire department. So at the almost at the end of page 2 in the budget package there, the revenue in excess of expenditures has a surplus of $544,000.
Is that what's highlighted there?
Correct,
Evan?
yeah.
That's correct. And then it shows what our surplus for the current budget year is on the left of that number, the 6.4.
And the 450,000 is already worked into the cake, right? The 450,000 for the possible dock repair.
The possible dock repair is worked into the capital budget, yeah.
I think it's 400 though, not
It's
450.
400, yes.
Mayor,
Anybody
if I could, please.
Commissioner Thayer?
Yeah, so, again, I think, clearly we have the money. I think the question is whether we want to do it or not. And maybe we should just try and resolve this now rather than pushing it down the road to the next meeting where we're really going to try and, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Tedder, try and finalize the budget in our next meeting. So if we want to make it, Mayor, we should probably just try and make a decision now on it so we can.
Fine.
Yeah.
So let's speak up. So Ed, you're fine with giving the full 50. Anybody else?
While you're looking up this way, I'll go on line and say also I'd be okay with giving them the 50.
50?
I agree with Commissioner Saunders and Thayer.
Maybe with that same caveat about asking for more money next year and next year and next year.
We also did, though, have a request, and I agree with that, but we did receive a request from you, Mayor, of looking at potential items to use for this. And if that could be added to that list, I think that people have put some thought and effort into that. Again, I would agree with the additional $50,000 for the automobile for the fire company, but also we would need to look at that list that has been prepared.
Is that the list that included potential future projects such as
Correct.
Such as Wilmington, Baltimore, and what were the other ones, Evan? Do you recall?
I think there was infrastructure work with fiber on the boardwalk, connecting the Beach Patrol building with the City Hall, some others. I'm trying to remember what
He's
they
going
are.
to try to pull it up.
Okay. But again, I don't
Yeah.
disapprove that at the additional 50, but there is a list that's been prepared that we want to take a look at, so just keep that in mind.
Here's that list. So this is again for future thought.
Correct, but again, trying to have a little organization in the sense that we are not, oh, we've got $5 million to spend, let's do 50,000 here and 20 there. We prepared a list of priorities that we have been suggested from the city staff. So again, I would like to, again, keep this in focus as to be further going down with additional requests or something of that nature. But again, I certainly support the 50,000 additional from the fire department.
Mike and Warren, refresh my memory. You said if we give you the $50,000, you need another 30-some thousand, and that can be taken care of internally.
Yes.
So the 50,000 gets you essentially new vehicle?
New vehicle cost us $56,000. The packages for the inside of it, being the lights, the back command center areas, are all the additional funds that would go towards that. And we can budget, take care of that.
And the sign donated by the city of Rehoboth Beach will have blinking lights?
If there's a fire, we'll make sure it's there. Plus, as you know, it'll probably be sitting out in front of the station every day now that Chuck's retired.
We'll make sure it's on both sides of the
Yes,
vehicle.
sir, we will.
Do you want Stan Mills mayor to be on there?
No.
You have to pay him for that.
So sounds like we've got consensus here to do that. Are you comfortable with that, Craig? All right, very good. Congratulations, your wait paid off. With that, we are done with the donation portion of this, contributions portion of this meeting. And we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is consideration of any changes to employee health insurance and employee merit increases. Taylor, as you do this, if you don't mind explaining to the layperson what merit and bonuses and salaries are. Let's pause a couple minutes, yeah. We'll resume at 4:20 PM.
Okay, good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. So now this portion of the meeting, we're going to talk about the employee health insurance and merit increases. First, I'm gonna hold off on talking about the employee committee feedback until I kind of give a brief overview of what staff was tasked with and then what we've come up with and walk you through all of that. So ultimately, in the draft fiscal year 26 budget, staff built in 100% health insurance for all employees. Currently, we have a 90% employee provided benefit for the employee only, and dependents are 80% premium coverage. So ultimately, at the last meeting, staff was tasked with coming back with a scheme where employees making $60,000 or less would receive the 100% health insurance coverage, and other employees making more than that would retain the 90% coverage. So what has to happen is we have to assign this to classifications of employees. So what we have found is on our pay grades, it would be pay grade 110 and below. So let me switch to that so you can see where we're at. So any employees at pay grade 110 or below would receive the 100% healthcare coverage. So that $60,000 amount, that is what someone would be hired in at typically at the minimum of the range. And so if they're in that position for 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, they retain that benefit. So an example of an employee in pay grade 110 is an emergency communication specialist 2 in the 911 dispatch center. So once that person's hired, if they got a raise, they wouldn't just lose that coverage. They would retain it as long as they're in that position. So similar with all of the other pay grades, it would be no matter where they're at in their career, all of these pay grades would receive the 100% health insurance for just the employee. And then we were also directed to come up with a merit increase program where employees making $60,000 or less would have a possible extra 1% of their merit increase. And let me take a step back and talk a little bit more about the merit increases. So built into the budget was a 3% merit pool, which would have been added to the employee's salary. So they would get their 3% cost of living, and let's say they're exceeding expectations, they would get a 2% merit increase for a total of 5%. Ultimately, the feedback from the commissioners was we should look at doing a bonus program where it's just a one-time lump sum instead of adding it to the employee's salary. So that's what we have brought back, where it is up to 3%, and then anyone in pay grade 110 or below could receive an extra percent, so a total of 4%, since the lower, it's regressive, so the lower you make, the less bonus you get. Ultimately, so we had the employee committee meet on March 4th to discuss these, and ultimately their feedback was the health insurance, the 100% would be nice, but they care a lot more about increase to their base salary. So the merit increase, they do prefer that being added to their salary, even if it is less. But they felt more strongly about having merit go on their salary rather than a bonus. There were concerns with the bonus about reporting their income to get loans or things like that, where their technical base salary would be lower, things of that nature. But Jean is here. She can answer any questions related to both of these. My feeling on the health insurance is either go all 100% or just keep it at 90%. I think recruiting might be difficult if we have different benefit levels, so trying to communicate that to applicants might be difficult. But I'm here for any questions. This is to spur the conversation.
I just had a question with
Commissioner Margaret?
Yeah, I'm saying, if you're handing out a bonus, is that treated like in the payroll process where you can, like, there's a way to look it up and average the withholding so there's less withholding taken out? Because a lot of times, if you get hit with like, sizable, a sizable increase, it changes the calculation for withholding and all that kind of stuff.
So with this, these aren't huge bonuses. These are all fairly small bonuses with the merit. So
okay.
they'd be issued as separate checks. So they wouldn't be issued with your regular payroll, which means they'd be taxed just like if it was a regular check. There's no extra withholdings just because it's a bonus.
Okay.
So they're not, none of them are thousands and thousands of dollars. So
Right.
the tax-wise, it won't make really a
It didn't,
difference.
okay, that's what I was concerned about, all right.
And I did do some math. So if you're at grade 111, so and the minimum salary on that's $66,670. So 3% of that would be $2,000. But the majority of our employees most likely will be getting 2% or 1%. So that's $1,300 and about $660, roughly.
Okay.
Commissioner Saunders?
I think it's interesting that they were not particularly concerned about the difference between the 80 or the 90 and the 100% insurance. I'm wondering why. It's money out of their pocket.
Well, it's not that they didn't like it, because there were several that very strongly do like it. Just looking at the overall feedback from the whole group, it's about 15 employees. They feel much stronger about having the increase to their base salary.
So overall, we could stay with the 90, go with the increase in base salary, and we'll probably have a wash, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
That seems the logical thing to do then, right?
Mayor,
Commissioner Gossett?
I understand your logic there in that regards, looking at the dollars and the cents. But again, we go back to the ability to retain and hire new employees. And again, we brought this out and to separate it, but I just go back to information that we've been supplied by and medical insurance percentage by municipality. Lewis, 100% employee. Dewey, 100% across the board. Milton, 100%. Georgetown, 96%. Millsboro, 100%. Newark, 100%. Milford, 80%. And Seaford, 90%. So again, I look to the HR director just to, they have a better pulse on the hiring, retention, and hiring aspects of it. And is that a crucial factor? I mean, this isn't, it's not a lot of money, but it is certainly a factor that.
Did you say Dewey Beach is in there?
Dewey's 100%.
100%, okay.
Yep. Everybody's 100% except Seaford, which is 90%, and Milford, which is 80%.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
So as far as recruiting and the health insurance, every time we do an interview, people ask about the benefits, and telling them they get 100% health insurance is always a plus. Right now, we tell them they get 90% for employee. We don't really go into dependent stuff in the interview. So recruiting will always be helpful with 100%. As far as retaining, most of our jobs are also in all those other towns around us. We are comparable to most of them with salaries. When we did our compensation study last year, and we brought up our salaries, we tried to be slightly above market. There's a couple of towns that we didn't beat, but we are competitive with our salaries. So it would be nice to be competitive with our health insurance as well, if they were going to go somewhere else in one of the other municipalities.
This is spread across about 65 employees. Is that what we're really speaking of, full-time, or?
For insurance,
Yes.
we have about 90 employees with insurance. But we're only talking about the employee portion, so it's less than if we're doing it for all of it.
And can you remind us, if we were to go up to 100%, what, for all employees, what's that dollar amount?
It's $111,677 to do 100% for all the remaining employees, because we've already done it for the police department.
And this is included in the draft budget that's
Is.
in your worksheets. Yeah.
And then thinking about the merit versus increase or bonus, Jean, can you remind us, when we did the compensation study, did we have to do a special market increase to bring people up to where they needed to be?
So when we did the compensation study, we were kind of all over the place with our jobs. So we actually looked at individual jobs and where we brought those up. Some jobs we had to bring up quite a bit. There were very few jobs that we were at market price last year when we did the comp study. There were several jobs that got a 25% at least increase because we had fallen behind the market.
You know, looking at the budget as presented, with completed or figured in the $111,000 for the 100% employee, I just think to be competitive, and we look at the value of our employees and what they do for us and what they do for the community and the city, I just feel very strongly that we need to show that we value the employees of what they do for the taxpayers. You know, again, it's not apples to oranges here, or apples to apples, but we've just took $50,000 for a vehicle for the fire department, which I support. But I think if you kind of look at that aspect of if you're an employee here, and you know, it says something to me that if we say no to 100% employee insurance, and we give $50,000 to the fire department for an automobile, I just don't think we're sending the right message and the value of our employees, which are paramount to running the city.
Well, and how many towns did you read there that were at 100%?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5.
And one's at 96%, the other's at 90, which is competing to us, that's Seaford, and Milford's at 80%.
Mayor, if I could, please.
There.
Thank you. I just want to make sure Commissioner Gossett, are you proposing, because what we heard and what I thought I heard was that the employees would prefer the merit added to their base pay, not just a one-time bonus.
They would prefer that.
And I shouldn't say one prefer it. Of course they prefer it, but they strongly prefer it. That's what they voiced. So are we proposing adding it, what's your thoughts? Proposing adding the merit to their base pay and the health insurance?
Right now, I'm focused on the health insurance. I think that is a more factor in hiring and retaining and retention. The merit, I think that's a more comparable aspect of how people are compensated. And you are, you know, it's not a guarantee by any means. It is on your performance level. And in previously, our performance evaluations were not the best. I will share that. But I believe with Jean and others, individuals involved in this, that the merit of your position has become quite involved in knowing exactly what is expecting of you and setting expectations and accountability, and also setting goals for the future that have accountability to them. So it's not just, you know, you're a nice guy or a nice girl, we're giving you 3% because you show up to work each day. Those are the base standards that you have as an employee of the city. If you go beyond your expectations of what you're doing, you come up with, new programs, new ideas, ways to save money. Those are all elements that didn't exist before. So I think the merit aspect of, I could get 0.5%, I could get 1%, or I could get 3%. And I think that also, in the long run, inspires others that if I have brought a new program to the community or to my department or come up with some new ideas and they are rewarded for that, that also inspires others to do the same thing. So in the long run, I feel you're really saving money because you're getting a buy-in for the employee at that aspect. You're giving them value, you're giving them worth, and you're giving them appreciation, and also setting expectations for them as an employee of what the city wants from you. So I just look at this as a very value aspect of you're investing in your people, you're investing in the city, and we want the best for our residents, for our visitors, and I think that's what we've always supplied. And I just, it's the old aspect of, with the employee committee, I sat on that for many years. You kind of read the room, and it's a two-way street. You give to them, and it's not giving because there are expectations of your salary review and also your criteria that you meet in that. And then they invest in you. I feel very strongly about that these are why the city exists, are these employees. And you think about folks picking up the trash or cleaning the boardwalk at 10 o'clock or midnight. That's rough work. And to be invested in that and to care about it, we've had a length of service at this town for, I don't know what our average length is anymore, but for a number of years, it was running the 15, 18 years. So that, I think that says a lot too, and it's an investment. It's simple as that. So I'll get off my soapbox on that, I'm sorry.
Any response to that, Craig, or anybody?
Makes sense to me.
So restate your preference, except bring it up to Patrick's standards. Mark.
Mark.
Like I say, I don't have any strong feeling one way or the other. I do think that we do have employees that we have to respect, and I think they're valuable. And for the $111,000, it's probably a good investment. So I would not hesitate to do that if that's what everybody else decides to do.
So again, I'm trying to get somebody to repeat the two-step process here. One is to go from 90% to 100% employee coverage for health insurance, and
Support a merit-based increase on the salary. And again, that is not a guarantee. That could be 0 or a maximum of 3%, depending on performance and evaluation.
well, and what would be the range of the merit bonus? It's been said before, 0 to 3%.
So it's 0 to 3%, and we have gotten all the scores in, and the average is 1.7 is what the cost is. So, yeah.
If you recall, Commissioner Good at the last meeting said for something to go to 4%.
The under 60,000 was an extra percent on that bonus arrangement. So on the screen, we had done the pay grade 110 and below, if that, if you wanted to do the bonus.
And personally, I just have a concern of creating separation of how individuals are evaluated or considered for merit increases or what have you. It just, you're kind of like spot zoning in my mind.
Mayor, if I could, please.
Leave it at 0 to 3%. Commissioner Thier?
Thank you. So after the last meeting, I believe we were headed in the direction, we hadn't, obviously hadn't agreed to anything, but I felt like we were heading in the direction of, with the health insurance, we were going to go, instead of everyone getting it, we were going to give it to half the people, okay? So instead of spending, let's just say we're going to spend 110, so instead of adding 110, right, to our base going forward, which rolls forward, we're going to be somewhere around 55. And with merit, that was going to be a bonus versus added to the base salary again. So we weren't, continuing to add that on top. I was definitely struggling a little bit with health insurance, drawing a line at grades. So I was wasn't gonna propose anything other than say, hey, instead of going to 100, do we go to 95? We get that, instead of spending 110, we're probably still spending roughly 55. But stick with the merit as a bonus rather than adding it to the salary. So I don't know. I'm definitely struggling a little bit with going to 100. That adds, to our expenses going forward, right? That rolls forward. And then merit making that base, rather than a bonus, because again, that adds to the base salary and that rolls forward. So if we start to add up all these percentages, it's like 3% COLA, probably 1.5% for the health benefit, and then another 1.7% for merit. So we're very quickly adding, 3 plus 4.5, 5.5. We're basically adding like 6.2% to our, to our costs, right? That doesn't drop off after this year. We just add on to it next year. So I guess I struggle with that.
Taylor, you've heard conversation up here. Would you be comfortable restating what your recommendation is? You're the employer.
Sure. So we have the recommendation on the screen based on your feedback from the last meeting. So this is the health insurance going pay grade 110 and below, the merit increase as a bonus, one-time lump sum at the first pay period in the fiscal year, where employees at pay grade 110 or below would get up to 4%, and all of the other employees would get up to 3%. My personal point of view, I think it would be difficult slicing up the health insurance just advertising-wise, as I had said. So I would say do all or nothing, just leave it at 90 or go to 100. And then on the increases, Commissioner Thier has a great point. The bonus does not compound over time. One of the other comments in the employee committee meeting was it would be a fairly small bonus. If the bonus was larger, that was the comment, that the bonus would be very small. If it was larger, I think, I don't want to suggest what that would be, but they felt like as a bonus it would be small, but over time it's investing in their future.
Well, based on what we said last time, actually, I don't know that we said it as much as one of the commissioners, but I'm not, right now I'm not interested in dividing it above and below 60,000, above and below pay grade 110. I like you, I think it's all or nothing.
Can I ask a question?
Marker?
Yeah, it doesn't, when you're talking about the merit increases, the bonuses or whatever, doesn't compound, but if it's based on COLA that does compound, right, it does sort of indirectly compound, does it not? If you're, each year, let's say you get a merit bonus or something like that, it's going to be based on a larger base. So,
right.
So and I think obviously that's somewhat hard to predict, but not based on that. You can sort of base a trend or something, like kind of figure it out, like you have, with the 1.7 or something like that, right? So, I think I share Commissioner Thier's concern that it's just going to keep inflating, and it can become a pretty sizable number, percentage of the budget and all that. So,
and it does give the flexibility over time, to raise, lower.
But I mean, I think this is typically one of those things you're not going to retract on it. I mean, we're not suddenly going to get to the point where we're going to go back to 90. You know what I mean? I think once we're once we're 100, we're staying at 100, I think, aren't we? So I'm just trying to kind of predict how we're going to be, so I'm just saying that avenue, we will have took it to the max and keep it there, I think, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because, I mean, I'm looking at this as my belief, you tell me this is wrong, that working for the city was a good gig because there wasn't any other, if there was like very limited, job prospects and stuff. So people, found this was a, solid job, it was secure and all that kind of stuff. Now, I mean, not to say that there's like great opportunities, but there's certainly a lot of other things you can do, I mean, there's this, I think you're talking about competing with other towns, but we're competing with other jobs that are available, that kind of thing. So it is a little different now, so, and I guess I would be interested in sort of knowing, and I don't know if this is something you could recreate, but like in the last year or last 2 years or whatever, how many jobs have we sort of lost? I mean, we really don't have much. Our turnover rate is relatively low, is it not? I mean, is that
Average of 10%.
yeah, it's average, but I mean, I don't know. And is it because of, the lower salary levels, it's more in that range or mid-range or
So I will tell you that this last year, our turnover has been at the least that we've had in the last
Okay,
5 years.
all right.
The year before that, we had the highest turnover at 17%.
Okay, right. So
I think
you
the better salaries have
sure.
kept people,
Yeah.
and made a better environment for them as well, because
And-
we've had the lowest since the comp study.
And that's a reason to raise salary, so I mean, I think we're doing the right thing. So, I think, to the extent that we can, satisfy the desires of our employees and everything, I think that would guide us, so I don't know. It seems to me, I mean, if you feel the employment, task force or whatever, is getting a representative sort of read on one of them, I think we should take that under advisement. Yeah.
Since we raised it to 90% last year, just last year, I was leaning toward leaving it alone for 1 or 2 more years before changing, until I talked with the town manager of Dewey Beach, and he indicated that they were at 100%. And then you heard what Patrick said, all the other close by. So I do think it is an investment in our employees, and helps with competitiveness, which I think could be a critical point for us. So now I'm leaning toward that 100% health coverage for all.
I guess.
Merit?
Oh, go ahead. Nope.
Sorry, Mayor, if I could, please.
Go ahead, Commissioner Thier, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. How about on the merit as a bonus or adding it to base salary?
What did the employees want?
They would prefer it be added to base salary.
Because of the one example you gave, if they were getting a car loan, then they can put a higher salary up there, which is legitimate, I think. But doing that, how does that impact future years and compounding of pricing?
So if you do look at our fiscal year 27 forecast and the budget worksheets, it is added in there, compounding from this year to next. But you'd have to look at 5 years out really to see a trend.
So help me understand this in a sense. So the merit salary increase would be 1% across the board? Is that?
The average is 1.7.
1.7.
So it is a 3% pool. So you can get between 0 and 3%. The average for this year is 1.7 across all employees.
And the bonus program would be, as projected here, 1%? Is that what I'm reading or no?
The bonus program was if you were in the pay grade 110 or below, you got an extra %.
No matter what?
So you'd have, yeah, so if you
That's
got a
not-
0, you'd get a 1. If you get a
Not based on anything other than you showed up and you got reviewed?
Yep.
So are we talking between 1% and 1.7% in the variance between merit and bonus?
So on the screen, it was divided by the pay grade.
Right.
So it was 3% pool versus 4% pool. So you could get 0 to 3, or would everyone get a 1? Or
No,
it'd be
so
0 to 4?
you got to at least meet expectations to get any merit bonus. We're
Right.
not going to give a merit bonus to somebody that wouldn't meet expectations.
But, so whether it is a merit increase or bonus, the average is 1.7.
Correct.
It doesn't matter how it's being paid.
Correct.
And what's currently in the budget right now? The increase or bonus?
They cost the same.
For
So
this year, it's the same no matter which way you go. Next year, would be compounding of about a % difference.
So the 27 projection has that shows
As in the salary.
shows the merit is in the salaries. 27 shows the merit in the salaries. Sorry, Ms. Womack.
All right, well, I'm just going to go out there and propose what I think we should do. Like Commissioner Thier and the mayor, I think I was a little conflicted on the health insurance. Given that it's already generous, we increased it to 90% last year. But now hearing about Dewey and the 5 other local municipalities, and to be able to market and be competitive, I'm very much in favor of going to the 100% or 95%, something to probably not less than 95, but I'm leaning towards 100. And then related to the salary, the merit increase, I'm very much in favor of it being a salary increase. Because I think I mentioned this at the last meeting, is we could be giving out bonuses instead of the increase, but then 3 years from now, when we do another compensation study, we're playing catch up because we've not been compounding someone's salary. And then we're giving someone a 25% jump because we haven't been increasing them. So yes, it compounds and it's going to cost more next year and the more after that and the year after that. But a lot of times we have to play catch up anyway when we do these mandatory compensation studies and market analysis. So we might think we're saving money by giving it as a bonus, but then we're playing catch up and it's actually costing us more at the end of the day. So, and it's what the employees expect. It's what has been done in the past. And I think it's just what we need to do to attract and retain employees. So, however, with those two things being said, I would not give an extra % at this time for anyone making a certain, within a certain range. I would just do 100% health insurance, merit goes to the salary increase.
So I'm going to restate what I'm hearing, because you waffled a little bit on 100%, 90%, but you prefer the 100% health benefit, and then the merit increase would go toward a salary increase.
Correct.
And the maximum would be 3%.
Correct.
So not the extra 1%.
That's where I'm leaning right now.
Let me,
Just to be clear, the COLA is going to compound anyhow.
Right.
So it's
Correct.
only the bonus above the COLA
Yeah.
that we're speaking about,
Yeah.
really. So, and I'd just like to add, I'd rather not go with 95 because otherwise we're going to be back here next year talking about going to 100.
Right.
So save 2 hours next year and just do the 100 now.
all right.
2 hours, you're being conservative. I think we've talked more about it than that.
Let me go to members of the public, Walter, and then Jeffrey.
Thank you. Walter Brittingham, 123 Huntley Avenue. I have 3, maybe 4 questions. And I think it's relative because you'll end up making a motion and that's the first time the public gets a chance to ask anything. But I've heard in the past that department heads have a $300 a month car allowance. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think it would be nice to clear that up. And I appreciate the documentation for the, that's in today's packet and make an assumption, I know how that's spelled, so if those are the rates, are they the rates of today after the compensation study? When did the compensation study, I know I'm not allowed to ask a question, but when did, roughly what month, what year did compensation study rates go into effect?
It was last year, and the answer to your first question was yes.
That's a good answer, thank you. I am very lucky to be standing here for more than one reason. But as people get older, I will tell you when you're sick or if you got problems, whatever, 100%. And I think you're discussing, not arguing, the wrong thing. I think it's very gracious, and I'll probably have to sell my house anyway. But I would give the whole family plan 100%. To those of you that don't have a spouse, I don't know what the definition of family is, but I haven't heard 100% for everybody. And if you want to chop back some bonuses or something like that, but I don't know how that works out tax-wise. But I don't think I've heard warmly 100%, so people can come to work and not have to worry about whether they're going to lose their house or their job. Because at the same time, Mr. Mayor, I've been sick, and I can tell you I have very good insurance, and knowing that I can go to the doctor and any of you pick it out, I think that's the most gracious thing we can do. And I looked at some of the numbers, like a grade 11 in my mind, or Bill, the man that puts up the signs and stuff like that. People I know, you need every penny you can get, and if you can keep it from being taxable, I think that's the gracious thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. Jeffrey, you want to say something?
Yes, Jeffrey, good resident. I have a few things. Maybe I should preface it. You guys know, like every 10 years, they do a census, and they have to hire, the Census Bureau has to hire like 1 million people to do a census. And I was once a consultant, working for a consultant, having to come up with the model how to hire 1 million people, what salary to pay. So I'm a little bit familiar with these issues. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Well, so to get back to our current situation, I'm not, normally when you get one of these performance bonuses, it doesn't go into your salary. I mean, I've worked for a lot of places. You get sort of a lump sum that year as a thank you, and your salary is boosted by, in the federal government, would be You have step increases or you have COLAs. Those are the two things. So you have those two things generally in the federal government. But I've rarely heard of it that you get a bonus on top of that that goes into your salary. So that's just the way other things do. As far as the attrition rates, when I saw here, I was at the meeting when you came up with the 10% for the first time. That is an excellent attrition rate. You guys don't know how good that is. Maybe you do. I don't know what other place, federal government is higher than 10%. A place like Starbucks would be 400-500%. Some of them are, retail could be 1,000%. 10% is like amazing. You're not losing a lot of employees. Rehoboth Beach has very good employees, and they come, I mean, there's no other jobs like the ones we have here in Sussex County. I mean, these other little towns might come close to it, but you have fantastic jobs. You pay very well. I don't see what the problem is by doing, as was proposed, you have a bonus, just comes as a bonus, not as your salary. And 90% medical insurance is also fantastic, particularly since you just raise it from 80%. So you guys are fine. You're going to have, I don't think it'll change much from 10% if you just keep the 90% and put the bonuses exactly in people's pockets instead of in a salary increase. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Jeffrey. How does seasonal hires deal with health insurance and all that?
Part-time and seasonal are not offered health
Oh,
insurance.
they're not, okay. I'm trying to think of incentives for seasonals also, but this is not applicable.
And I will mention that, so, I've worked for a few different cities, and some cities do have step plans. We do not. On the police side, in their collective bargaining agreement, they do have steps, but that's the only classification that has a step program here, and so, yeah. Correct.
So it'd be nice to resolve this today if possible, rather than during the voting meeting.
As I said, I think we have a semi-consensus here on it, and I just go back to the fact that we're dealing with people, we're not dealing with things. In a CIP, you can, as we've done, postpone things or eliminate things of this nature, but we're dealing with individuals that are here, and we have I won't say an obligation, but a contract with them to supply them with a safe work environment, and it's critical that it's a two-way street. We give to them, they give to us. I've said that before, so that's where I am.
Mayor.
The last thing I
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
remember hearing laid on the table is 100% health coverage and merit increase that goes toward a salary increase, and the no extra 1% there.
Mayor, if I could.
Is there any disagreement? Do you want to?
Thank you. Yeah, I think some very good points have been brought up since I last spoke. I think Commissioner Chernowski brings up a very good point about, going to 95 versus going to 100, which is, we'll just, based on the data that Commissioner Gossett has given us, we'll just be back here going to 100 next year anyways. So maybe it's just time. I think your recommendation is probably should just do it now. And I really didn't think much about the salary survey, though I should have, but if the salary survey is just going to put us behind because all we're really doing is giving people COLA, then yeah, I think that's a valid point to make sure that we are increasing people's salary as time goes on so that we're not behind when the salary survey comes. So I think those are two very good points. So.
Are we comfortable with this model
And
presented by
I did want to say, if you do make a motion, make sure you exclude sworn officers.
It's probably cleanest if we voted on this today rather than wait to the budget.
Yep, that's
So
good.
do you want to take a minute and prepare a motion, Ed?
Yeah, sure. I just, are we sure that this has been noticed to vote? I mean, I guess we can always vote, right? Yeah, we can, okay. I just didn't see that stated anywhere.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
No, we're fine voting.
So I move, we increase the employee portion of health insurance from 90% to 100%. This does not include the sworn officers. And I move that we increase, the merit increases be a maximum up to 3%, and should be their merit salary increases.
Excluding sworn.
And also excluding sworn officers.
Second.
Is excluding sworn officers the same as non-union employees?
Correct. It's just cleaner.
Okay. So we have a motion by Commissioner Chernowski and a second by Commissioner Patrick Gossett to increase health coverage for non-union or non-sworn employees from 90% to 100% health coverage, and go with a merit increase to be
Up to.
to be part of the salary increase from 0 to 3%. I don't know what I'm saying there. Help me out there.
I think you've got it there.
I think I got it. All righty. Did you hear what I said? Is that accurate?
Yes.
All righty. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the motion carries. So that'll obviously be part of our budget program and will be rigid because we've already voted on it. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, and then to confirm, those figures are reflected in the current budget?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
So this is the content that we've prepared today. If there are any other items in the budget that you'd like to address at this point, I'd be happy to. Otherwise, we will be back here for the final meeting, which would be on March 21st at 2 p.m. That would be where you would be approving the fiscal year 26 annual budget. We still could make changes at that meeting. But I'm here to go over anything now if there are items of note.
I'm good. Anybody else?
The only question is hopefully we'll know
Commissioner
on the-
Saunders?
I'm sorry. We'll know on the dock before we make the final decision. on whether
We're
we need that
hopeful.
$400,000.
Some of the companies that we've reached out to, it's outside of their expertise area, but Henry's done a really good job. He's found a couple firms to take a look at it. I know one of them is coming out this week and has already had a Zoom call to discuss it. So I'm hopeful that we'll have a number for you. Yeah.
Only thing else that I would ask if if feasible, if you could prepare, as you've done here, FY 26 changes from budget meeting 3, just a recap of all of the changes that have reviewed through
Of
the
course.
four meetings.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
And then, City Manager, do you plan, so we've got, after we've taken that, increased the $50,000 to the fire department, we're about 495,000 with the surplus. Do you plan on allocating that in some way, given that list that Commissioner Gossett had mentioned for the last meeting, or do you plan on just leaving that as a surplus? Or
Well, so the slide that Evan showed earlier of possible uses of the current fiscal year surplus, some of those items, could be something to allocate that towards, I would look toward your direction. If not, we would just budget that as contingency or put it in capital.
Yeah, move
Mayor,
something
if-
on the capital improvement.
Yeah, Mayor, if I could, please.
Commissioner Thayer.
So a couple of things. So, one of the items and we're not gonna, I don't want to, I'm just answering your question, right? This is proposing things to vote on, right? It's, we have that surplus for next year, which is about 500,000 plus or minus, where that 50 falls. And then we have the surplus that's being generated this year, which is multi-million dollars. So yes, at the next meeting, the city manager will come forth with a list of items. As part of that, I think we need to look at, one of the things I had said previously, and I think some others, is do we take the tax rate back to what it was a year ago? Okay. But I think we also need to look at some of these, we have stormwater management coming up, which is multi-million dollars, right? Where does that fit into all of this, as well as a list of other potential uses of these funds? So yeah. So Taylor's working on a list, so.
Very good. With that, we'll move on. There is no new business. Any further commissioner announcements or comments? Hearing none, we'll keep moving on. Review future meeting dates tomorrow at 9 o'clock, right in this room. We have a public hearing and a second agenda item referencing ClearSpace. With that, we move down to citizen comment. Is there anybody that has citizen comment off topic? Seeing none, I will adjourn this meeting at 5:12 p.m. Thank you very much.